Hey, this is Benjamin Nelson, your Season 7 WSSR Cup champion. I'd like to give a thanks to Roasted Gems Coffee, Trophy Smack, all the admins at WSSR, Snowy Desert Racing, everybody that tunes in to the Freaky Fast broadcast every week, including my family and friends, co-workers as well. And I am so honored to be able to hoist this beautiful trophy. I've never been more proud to be a champion.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Wednesday night. It's time for coverage of the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. Tonight, Season 8 is slowly coming to a conclusion. It's race number 10. Just two more after this evening's race before we get prepared for playoff racing action. A lot of drivers are getting themselves mentally prepared as this is crunch time, and the drivers had to swap out this race. Originally scheduled to be at Martinsville, they said, you know what, short tracks have not been the best this season. Instead, let's put a 2-mile behemoth in front of these drivers and see if they can tackle it. It's Auto Club Speedway, 2 miles in distance, and the drivers are set and prepared for this race, and so are we here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up the booth is going to be Justin Malarkey. And Justin, a track that was subbed in, Auto Club, excited for this race, especially after what we saw from the sister track of Michigan just 2 weeks ago.
So happy that Auto Club is on the Speedway, subbing for Martinsville, like you mentioned, sister track Michigan. But Auto Club, I think, is going to even be a better race. It's just a little bit wider track, older surface, tire wear is going to matter big time tonight. It's going to be really great to watch these drivers out on this big 2.0 mile track.
And like some tracks that are on iRacing, no longer going to be able to race in real life, but virtually we are able to touch this course in one of the best racing action that you're going to be seeing all season long. Like I said, Justin, wider, a lot more space, but it's that track surface that's going to be the more interesting thing to watch out for. How do these drivers overall come together for this racetrack? Over 30 drivers expected to be running here this evening as the sun will be setting here tonight. You can see it's starting to set our image, but for the drivers, it is already nighttime as we head down to trackside. The drivers are just finishing up practice, about to get started with qualifying, and the lights are out. Justin, the cooler temperatures, I think this is going to be a factor that really could help out this field this evening.
Yeah, it'll help keep the grip in the tires a little bit, but tires are still going to really matter here, especially the track being so wide. You can see guys pit, maybe go 14th, 15th, and be able to probably get through the field really quick, but there's just going to be so many grooves. I think tonight, Sam, we're going to be talking about drivers running below the apron in the corner, above the apron, lane 1, lane 2, lane 3, middle of the track, all the way up to the wall. Some people be right up on the wall. It's going to be really nice just to be able to see these drivers fan out in the corners, but we're getting ready to start qualifying here.
Qualifying for these drivers going to be 5 minutes in total, 2 laps to put down their fastest time. But if you get into the wall, you get into the grass, that time will not count. So everyone's going to be trying to stay on track as much as they can and finding ways to get themselves up front as quickly as possible. In the series of the WSSR, this will be the 5th time that this series is ran at this track. They ran initially back in Season 1, and then in Season 3, 4, and last season for Season 7. Last season probably gives us the best picture of what we're expecting to see here this evening. Or we had the pole sitter of Benjamin Nelson not even able to lead a lap, showing that it could be tough just if you're the pole sitter to get up front. It was Larry Yingling that led the most laps, and Douglas Newbigin got himself into victory lane that race, leading just 35 laps of 110. And 110 last season was the shortest distance that WSSR's ever ran. Here tonight, only 100 laps will be ran, so we'll see if this field, a shorter distance, how that could influence this race this evening as drivers are getting ready for their first laps to be clocked in. 77 of Brian Noel, hoping for a fast lap for himself. A lot of these drivers, like I said, Justin, wanting to get up front, it is going to be crucial to be up there, but making passes is a factor that we will see here this evening.
Yes, I think this will be one of the tracks where we could definitely see people start in the back and move up through the field. Obviously, it's always important to start up front, but not everyone can. We see drivers throughout this season have problems qualifying, and then they're able to get up there throughout the race. So tonight is going to be one of those nights where we're definitely going to see cars coming to the front, to the back, moving all over this track. But right now, we're still getting through qualifying here.
Still getting through qualifying as we're inching closer and closer to halfway with our 5 minutes being done. Currently, it's Kyle Heath in the 31 machine who had a fantastic showing last week at Pocono. Going to be in first currently. Last week, got to see Larry Yingling hold off the heavy pressure from Brian McCann and Benjamin Nelson to get in victory lane. First time this season for Larry Yingling. We'll see if that speed's going to be still there, but fastest car on track after 2 laps being placed down. It's Bryson Hickson, the 63, who needs a quick time. Take that away. It's actually going to be Brian McCann. Other drivers hoping to find that extra pace and running the wall. I think that's the most interesting thing that we're being seen right now, as Brian Noel in the 77 was 10th fastest after that first lap, hoping for a little bit of a boost, but grazes the wall. Invalid second lap for the 77.
Yeah, invalid lap. Do not want to see that happen. Luckily, he was able to get that first lap in, but he was probably hoping for a faster speed in the second one, getting a little bit of heat in those tires. But right now, we're seeing Jason Tamer on track. Going to get into his second lap, 38.762. Going to be 10th. Moves up from 18th to 10th, but drops back to 11th really quick, as now we have another person dropping into the top 10. John Forbes out there, 24th. Not going to be the lap he wants, but like we said, you can definitely pass on this track.
Last driver to get a pole here at Auto Club last season in the same car. It's Benjamin Nelson that's trying to put the faster time and has to figure out how to beat the one machine of Brandon Colley, finding that extra pace. Going to be 15 thousandths of a second faster than Brian McCann. Very close on the pacing are these drivers between themselves. I mean, our top 15 drivers all within a tenth of one another. We'll see if Benjamin Nelson can advance any more for himself, but it looks like for the 79, just getting a little bit more practice in, but a driver that's in a crucial points position, Johnny Brugg stealing the top spot here with a minute left in qualifying.
Wow, it just gets over Brandon Colley right there towards the end. I mean, wow, Brandon had a chance to get the pole there, but Johnny comes right in, takes it from him. Like you mentioned, Johnny Brugg trying to get into those points. Needs a great night tonight. No better way than starting first and leading that potentially first lap.
As one of the last drivers trying to put down a time, going to be Shane Tarian and as well Tyler Dangler, the last drivers to see where the quick pace is at. This is the last lap for the 9, hoping to top the board. Was 20th after the first lap. Will there be any advancement in positioning? And it looks to be a slight one from 20th up to 17th. Seeing that they're struggled to find that extra little bit of pace is Tyler Dangler. First lap, not going to have enough time for a second. We'll see what the 19 has on trying to advance forward. Not going to be either starting back in 30th or higher than this position. We'll see across the line. Tyler Dangler, not a lot of spacing or time to put down that second lap. It looks to be 26th is the best for the 19 machine. Good run by this field, but as practice done, qualifying's over. The drivers send their way to warm-ups for 5 minutes. A little bit of extra time for the drivers to get themselves settled in for this 100-lap dash at Auto Club. Gonna be a difficult race, I think, overall for this field. Again, I talked about it right before qualifying started. This is gonna be the shortest distance that this field has had, but Justin, we were given the notes. This shorter distance actually might play a big factor in fuel if we stay green from the beginning of the race to the end.
Yeah, and we've noticed in this league lately, these races are starting to get a little green. I know last week at Pocono we had a couple cautions there, but this wide track could really give us a chance to stay super green, which is really going to make us be talking fuel throughout this night, but tires are definitely going to be really important. If you do get that early caution, if you have those extra sets, you're probably going to want to get in there and start using them. Don't want to take them home ever, Sam. Tires, you want to use them up.
You certainly do want to use them if you have the opportunity. And for the field, it's crunch time. Counting tonight, 3 races left in the regular season for the playoffs. And let's take a look at how close these drivers are, because it is very crucial to make sure that they hit the right marks. But first, we'll take a look at the way that the schedule is looking at. And it's going to be seeing us here at Auto Club again, substituting what was supposed to be Martinsville. Not going to be the case for tonight. Instead, we race here at Auto Club, head to Nashville Super Speedway next week, and then we finish off the regular season at a very dynamic track that I'm personally excited to see. I think my bias of wanting to see this race kind of help the admins change it up. We're going to Atlanta Super Speedway in the Gen 4 cars. That's asking for chaos to happen, and it will be the last race of the regular season.
It's going to be the last race, but it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be really neat to see these cars put down so much power. But still, with the restrictor plate, will they be lifting in the corners? We don't know what to expect. We know what the current cars do on that track, but Atlanta's still 1.5 mile track. But you got all that banking, and you got all that speed with these Gen 6 cars. Excuse me, the Gen 4 cars that you're just going to be going so much faster down the straightaways, where we might see some cars getting sideways in the corners just under heavy braking potentially.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that track's going to ebb and flow, but let's take a look at the standings, because this is where it really matters the most. Drivers maybe haven't been thinking about the standings as aggressively, but here is where the drivers line up. Here are your top 30. There is one driver, though, of note that's back in 32nd position, and that's going to be Bryson Hixenbach, actually in 33rd position. Bryson's just 50 points out from the top 25. If Bryson Hixenbach can get inside of the top 25 in points, he will be taking one of the top positions, will be taking a position from the playoffs with that automatic win, and you're in, but you have to be inside the top 25 for that to count. Talk about drivers that need to be up front. Brandon Colley, Johnny Brugg, 15th, 16th in points. They're going to be starting up front here tonight. I think they both knew getting the playoff points of getting the pole position, very crucial. And as well, some of those drivers are just outside looking in with Ollie Fonseca, Kenton Gable, and Isaiah Sutherland.
Yeah, going to be very crucial. Brandon Colley is going to be wanting to try to lead that first lap, but Johnny Brugg's going to want to be leading that first lap for the same reason, so they can get all those points. As you see right here, all these drivers on the right side of the screen, they want to be on that left side of the screen. Brandon Colley right now being in 15th, but Johnny Brugg being in 16th right behind him. It's going to be a great restart just to see what these two drivers do on lap 1 and who's able to lead that first lap to get the bonus point.
Yeah, and if you find yourself in trouble, you can lose a lot of points. Biggest loser in points and positioning, Cedric Hunter, losing 4 positions in points, dropped from 10th in points down to 14th. Not a comfortable position, 13th in points. Still not comfortable for the 13 machine, hoping to find a little bit more consistency here this evening. But the drivers know, hey, anything could happen here tonight. Salvage a good finish is going to be the key factor. And as well, weather. How is the weather going to be influencing this race as we take a look at it? It is very consistent across the board, 65 degrees for the ambient temperature and the track temp for these drivers under warm-up conditions. The wind, a little bit high at 9 degrees from the southwest direction, but shouldn't be influencing this race too much. We'll see how that wind wants to influence back and forth, but that very cold temperature here, Justin, that could be a big factor to watch out for, especially in these restarts.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep an eye on that and see if that changes the grip level to maybe these drivers end up on the bottom, or maybe they end up preferring the top just with the extra grip. I know making up top, you make a ton of horsepower coming out of the corners with all that momentum, but being on the bottom is still that shorter distance, and it just seems like it's always ends up working here. But turns 1 and 2, a lot of guys end up top. You get that better angle coming out of the corner, and then 3 and 4, you got to deal with those seams, which we're going to be talking about all night tonight, those seams.
Yeah, the seams are going to be the big thing, and we'll kind of use them as driving lines when they're going through the corners and straightaways. But tonight's going to be a fun one to watch as warm-up time is clocking down, 5 seconds left. Do want to do a quick shout out to our amazing sponsors, Roast to Gems Coffee and Trophy Smack. We'll talk about them both a little bit more later on, because it's about to be race time for the drivers here this evening. Practice is done, qualifying's done, warm-up is over, which means it's race time, the featured event here this evening. Auto Club, race 10 of the season. Just 2 more after tonight to figure out who will be the 16 drivers to race for the playoffs. But here's where they're going to be starting up front. Your qualifying sponsor is going to be sponsor is Colley's mom. Thank you so much to Brandon Colley's mom for sponsoring the qualifying award. With the pole sitter going to be Johnny Brugg, but up front can be proud of her son Brandon Colley taking that top row in second place. Almost took the pole, but it was snuck away there late by the 20 machine. Brian McCann looked fast last week at Pocono, came up just shy from getting the win. We'll be starting in third. Ken Campbell, who needs a big points day, starting up in the fourth, with Nick Crawford fifth. Sixth goes to the 24 of Ollie Fonseca, another driver that's needing a good run here tonight. Bryson Hickson-Baugh won his debut race, hoping to get a win here tonight in seventh to maximize those points. And then we're going to see that of Brian Johnson in the 28 and 8th, Ryan Kelly in 9th, and finishing out our top 10, we find ourselves with 38 of Christopher Norris.
Rolling off in 11th is going to be our 2-time pole winner this season so far. Zach Hall going to be 12th, Isaiah Sutherland. 13th and 14th going to be 2 of the drivers that have won races so far this season, Benjamin Nelson and Larry Yingling. That's going to be an interesting row. Kyle Heath, we know, was really fast last week at Pocono, rolling right off in 15th. 16th going to be Jason Tamer. 17th going to be Shane Therian, and 18th going to be Ed Shearer Jr. 19th rolling off Douglas Newbigging, who you mentioned had a win once before at Auto Club Speedway. And rolling off 20th going to be Cedric Hunter, who we just mentioned needs to get some out of those extra points.
After last week's poor performance by the 13, caught up in a late wreck, needing a good run. 21st goes to James Kaufman. 22nd, we'll find ourselves with 53 of Christopher Wade. Cody Reed in the 52 machine will be in 23rd, with that of Brian Noel in 24th. James Heater in 25th. Tyler Dengler in 26th. 27th will be Anthony Gaudio. Ben Keeney in 28th. 29th, where we found the 11 of John Forbes. Joshua Corner going to be in 30th, and finishing out our 31 drivers, it's Cameron Sarton in the 99, deciding not to put down a time. 31 drivers expected here this evening, and Johnny Brugg, Brandon Colley going to be your front two, kind of in some very tough situations, being right at the cut line for points. They recognize every point matters, so qualifying matters just as much. We'll see how these drivers are going to be able to handle it up front. 100 laps, there's no competition yellow, no fast repairs. They got 5 sets of tires in pit road. The fuel run, it could be right around 2 to 3 stops. We'll see how many times they want to hit pit road. But first, it's time to go green here tonight at Auto Club for the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. And it's going to be a mad dash, side-by-side drag racing down into turn number 1 for Colley and Brugg.
The mad drag race, who's going to lead the first lap? They still got to get turns 1 and 2 finished here before they could decide that, but it looks like Brandon Colley's going to slip back to second. Johnny Brugg's going to come out of the corner with the lead, potentially going to get that bonus point that we talked about. It's going to be ever so important. But right now, Brandon Colley dipping back down to the inside, though. He's going to take it down in turn 3. 2 by 2.
Trying to give out shades of last season. Benjamin Nelson got the pole last season here at Auto Club. Didn't even lead a lap. And right now, Johnny Brugg wants to lead a lap for himself. On the outside, a little bit of a shimmy, shake. They're going to be side by side coming across the line. And Johnny Brugg, just by a nose, will lead lap number 1. As the field starts to single file out, it's now time to protect those tires. But already, so many different lanes being utilized here, Justin. This is what we were expecting from Auto Club.
This is exactly what we're going to be so exciting to watch all night. Drivers all over the track. You already see the leaders choosing the outside in turns 1 and 2. Some guys going down to the bottom, but there's room to pass. So these drivers are going to be able to make moves all night. As we see turn 3 and 4, it looks like the majority of the pack are going to use the bottom to the middle in that corner. No one really running up high.
Yeah, and that inside row is going to be very important for these drivers, because when you drive down low, protect those tires. That's the ultimate key. Drivers on the outside, they're maximizing their speed. They're using up their rubber, and they are tackling and attacking to go forward as quickly as possible, as drivers all trying to find where is that comfort zone. As we ride on board the 63 of Bryson Hickson-Baugh. Bryson, again, a driver who automatically, right when he joined the WSSR, got himself in a victory lane and trying to get back in victory lane again. He was on a good hot streak in those first couple of races. Now it is all about points. Again, he was in 33rd in points and has only ran 3 races, but still has a chance to make the top 25 in points, because some drivers haven't been showing up to give him the opportunity for the 63 to still be a threat if he can make it to the playoffs.
going to be trying to do everything he can to become that threat. But he wants to get back to victory lane, but there's another driver who wants to get to victory lane, and that was Brandon Colley, who was able to get up there and take the lead and actually lead that lap. Right now, Johnny Brugg looks like he's going to take it back, but Brandon Colley was able to lead that last lap, and right now he's still holding strong on the inside.
Brandon Colley, one of the drivers that's been here since the very beginning, trying to get himself into victory lane, has only been in victory lane once, and that was last year at Darlington. And what a win it could be to show off, hey, this Gen 4 car really is in the hands of this one. He's had some terrible luck to start the season off, and I know people in the chat really want me to probably stop talking about Colley, because when we do talk about him, the bad luck strikes. The commentator's curse has been strong when we talk about probably a handful of drivers. But Colley, Brugg, both still side by side fighting up front. The rest of the field trying to figure out how to slot themselves in. Currently, I've seen a lot of drivers falling back. The biggest mover so far is actually a driver all the way back in 16th position. That's Tyler Dangler, up 9 spots. The rest of the field that have moved forward, it's been 1 or 2 positions for themselves. This 19 has been on the go button since lap 1.
He's got it figured out right now. Maybe didn't have the qualifying speed, but he's got the race pace as we're going to complete lap 5. Now starting lap 6, like you said, moved up to 16th. We're going to ride right here and watch what he's able to do. See if he's got this track figured out. Looks like he's preferring that middle groove where some of these drivers are running down bottom, but Cody Reed's actually going to get underneath him right here, but they're going to come down the straightaway. We will be talking about the draft here. Looks like there's a couple cars on that second line down there. Again, on this back straightaway, you do not want to be the only driver down there, because sometimes you could get freight trained with no draft help. Yeah, when you have a driver in front of you, it's called having an anchor, utilizing the draft. That airflow allows you to get a little bit more of that speed, and drivers that decide to go for a pass, you have to get really good launch off the exterior corner. Carrying more speed and momentum, it can allow you to carry that momentum on the straightaways. Otherwise, you're sticking in the draft, trying to stay as one, as these drivers still right on top of one another as they are tackling every position. Benjamin Nelson coming off of last week's 3rd place finish at Pocono. A driver that we know, any race we go to, a threat to watch out for, but especially at tracks, there's a lot of wear and tear in the tires. And tonight, you talked about the track surface itself, almost like a cheese grater at times if you're not protecting those tires immediately. I'm curious on how many drivers in the next about 8 laps or so we're going to see that big swing of drivers that were pushing too aggressively start to fall back. Yeah, that is going to be something we're going to see really soon here. We're going to see who pushed too hard, who's able to maintain their pace. We know Benjamin Nelson, probably a driver I think is going to be maintaining his pace based off of what we've seen all year. So we'll be curious. He has not made too many moves yet, but he did just get around Zach Hall and moved up into 12th. But we're going to keep an eye on some of these drivers. We're going to be calling the words comer and goer. We will see who is able to come through the field and who is going to go back through the field backwards.
Well, as more drivers cycling forward, they start to figure out where they want to settle in currently. As watching the battle for 4th place, Ollie Fonseca and Nick Crawford, they decide to be on top of one another. And Nick Crawford and Ollie Fonseca, drivers that we expect to be racing around one another on a Monday nights. The ISRC Truck Series comes back this Monday. I know the drivers are very excited for the new season. A lot of excited rookies also with how that Truck Series is coming back for season 6. And everyone knows there is a chance of maybe seeing a brand new champion. But we also got word of past champions coming back. If you've heard of Vincent Sora, the season 1 champion, been word he's coming back for season 6. Going to be a good season to watch with all 5 past champions potentially being out there on track. Still waiting on word if we'll see Trent Jump out there. But for the drivers out here running tonight in the WSSR, they're all knowing, hey, this race is not over just yet, but all in the mindset of it's early, let's take a lot of learning and knowledge. And I think some drivers starting to just stay in line, and you got to protect those tires as much as possible. One of those being Larry Yingling, Christopher Norris. These drivers are right in protect and save mode as Benjamin Nelson rips the top trying to get by the 67.
Yeah, one driver I'm watching was Cody Reed. About a couple laps ago, he was right by Tyler Dengler, and now moving up about 3 cars, and he's actually trying to get under Zach Hall. And maybe he's got something figured out here. Lap 11, just making moves, still coming forward.
Coming forward, and one of those drivers, like I said, that's advancing forward. Same with Tyler Dangler, Anthony Gaudio back in 17 and 18. Those are the biggest movers currently that have made their chances to take passes when they can. Other drivers that are on the move trying to go forward, going to be Cameron Sark, who's up a couple of positions for the 99, as few others falling back. I think the biggest shocker in my mind, God, has to be the 8 Brian McCann. But, you know, once again, taking it easy, we're seeing this 13 and the 7. That's Cedric Hunter, Douglas Newbegin. Poor qualifying attempts for both of them, but deciding to stay back, linger in the back, see how this race progresses. I think for some, knowing Auto Club always has the potential of turning into a wreck fest, but also on the other foot, it's got a chance of staying green.
Yeah, it looks like it might be one of those races where it does stay green, but we never know. Caution can always breed more cautions. But you mentioned Brian McCann. He was a driver when I first got in here tonight in this session. I was immediately watching him. He looked like he had so much speed. And then all of a sudden, it just didn't carry over to qualifying. But like you said, this race is still early in the stages. You just maybe don't want to put yourself in a bad spot. As we see him right here, he's running up high. He's got the 18 right behind him for a little bit of drafting help. He's alongside Anthony Gaudio going into turn 1. But right now, just not making the moves yet. But this race is only on lap 13, so we have plenty of time.
Plenty of time, but this is some pretty close racing action. I mean, Justin, out on track, I know yourself, you're a driver. When you're in these very tight, squeezed moments, when we're about to have that swing of drivers' tires, kind of, if you were too aggressive, starting to fall back, those protecting can start to move forward. This has got to be one of those awkward situations where maybe you don't know what your competition has, but you're right on top of one another.
Yeah, there's just no escaping. There's so many cars all over the place, and the hardest thing to do is sometimes save tires, and then you're getting passed by people. And then the worst is when you're trying to save tires and someone gets to your outside, and then you got to pinch that car down a little bit more to keep it off the wall and keep it off the driver on top of you, and you kind of start hurting your tires more just by trying to save them, and you're still losing a spot. So it's one of those jobs where it's just really hard, and I always appreciate those guys that are just fast from qualifying and race pace. Those drivers are always so impressive that can just stay in the top 5 from beginning to end.
It always is impressive to watch and see. Zach Hall, a past pole sitter at this track back in season 4. Led quite a few laps also during that race, but that was when the drivers were in the next gen Cup car in the Gen 7, not in this Gen 4, where we've seen Zach have some highs and extreme lows. And currently, just inside of our top 15, kind of an odd position for this 32, but qualifying's been a troublesome spot for Zach Hall as he continues to try to make his march forward. We did see that cluster of drivers of Anthony Gaudio and others on top of each other battling for that 16th, 17th, 18th position. That's probably the most calamity-ridden spot that I'm watching right now of a pack of drivers as Heater gets into the outside wall for the 18, but able to continue with the momentum down into the corner. And we're starting to see other drivers starting to move forward. John Forbes now into the mix, but right behind them is the 71, James, that of Edward Sherwood Jr. That 71 machine missed a race, really hurt him on the points side of things with missing one race. Right now, one of those drivers that's just outside looking in on making her top 16. I think he could be a threat if he could find that real good finish of a top 15, but most likely looking for a top 10 finish here tonight.
Running 21st, and as you see on screen, if he's able just to get around 5 or 6 cars who are right in front of him, he could be in the top 15 really quick. It's just how do you get around these cars? You want to go, but you just, tires, like you mentioned, cheese grater. You just push so hard and they kind of just heat up, they wear out, and you can't really make the moves. But we see Douglas Newbegin getting into the picture here too, and Cedric Hunter. So these are 2 drivers we're going to have to watch and see if they're going to start coming through this field now.
They continue to have probably one of the best shows in the back half of the pack. Other drivers up front starting to get a little bit mixy. That's the battling for 6th position. Bryson Hixenbaugh has been trying his best to stay in front of this group, has moved up just 1 spot from where he qualified in 7th position, but having the competition of drivers that have shown last season and past seasons that there's threats. That's going to be Ryan Kelly out of Brandon P. Johnson. They are really on top of one another off the exit of the corner. And it seems like drivers right now, Justin, we're starting to see that swing as Benjamin Nelson starting to phase back, but we're seeing other competition start to move forward.
Yeah, we see a great battle here. Isaiah Sutherland and Benjamin Nelson swapping positions the last couple laps. These 2 drivers are running up high right now, and I think that might be where some of the speed is here on this longer run. As you see Benjamin Nelson just coming out of that corner and ripping down the back straightaway here. But Ryan Kelly, we know he's fast, and he's just got so many drivers in this league that are fast that it's just hard to always get up there. We got Brian P. Johnson, who we know all year was pretty much leading the points. He's running right there with this group. They're all kind of right there. But up front, Brandon Colley, he was a half a second behind. He's got it down to 3/10. So he might be one of those cars that has this long run speed. Johnny Bruggs led most of this race, but so far Brandon Colley's staying right with him.
Brooke Colley continue to stay up front with Ken Campbell in third. Fourth, still Ollie Fonseca in fifth. It was Nick Crawford. Everyone else trying to catch up to those top 5 drivers currently, as start to see a little bit more single file action at this time. As I say that, though, the 3 bounces to the inner groove. But as we're riding on board with Ryan Kelly, Auto Club, such an interesting track here, Justin. The corners feel like they're never ending at times. And one of those tricky tracks where, having that throttle control always seems to be one of my trickier spots when I try to race this racetrack. What do you think the drivers are searching for out there on course as we hop on board with the 3 to take a lap around with Ryan Kelly?
Yeah, you're searching, just like you mentioned, the corners are so long. You're searching to try and get back into that gas without spinning these tires. And you can go into the corner running a high line and you get all that momentum coming out, but it's such a big circle up top in that track that you feel like you're going around the corner so much longer than when you take the bottom. But trying to hold that car on the bottom on this rough, worn out surface with not so, it has a little bit of banking, but not a ton of banking. So you kind of just are really hoping that you can get back to the throttle without killing the rear tires. But we're starting to see Benjamin Nelson really make up some time. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that he was back in 13th and 12th, and now he's running up into the 7th position. So he's really got something figured out, and it seems like he's kind of working in that outside lane, as you see him right there up against the wall.
Yeah, working that outside wall continues to stay up there. The risk is if you have one little bit of a slip up, get on the throttle too soon, a vehicle in the wall can make contact very quickly if you're not careful. But the advantage of the backstretch and the straightaways and the amount of speed you carry is why it's worth the risk, as we see from the aerial view. Seeing that 79 of Benjamin Nelson on the outside, that red 63 is where we see Bryson Hickson Bob. It's the driver's battle for 6th place, and there's the massive run that we're seeing for the 79. Every time he exits a corner, he gets closer and closer to being fully sideways, and it just seems like Benjamin Nelson way more greedy on the entry, on how much he's willing to, go out and not have to slow down, and then also be rewarded with that risk off the exit of the corner.
Yeah, and one of the things we definitely talked about earlier was he wasn't making moves in the first 10, 12 laps. He really was just keeping his distance, not really letting people get by him, but not also making the moves, trying to take care of those tires. And right now, this is what he's doing. He's using all those tires up now here halfway through the run, but he's just got, it looks like so much more power. He's able to run that outside, and you're probably sitting here thinking, why doesn't everyone run that outside? But it's just not as easy. If you make one little mistake, you could be up in that wall and you get some damage and get the fenders flared out, or the car gets stuck into the wall like we saw last week at Pocono. Can lead to some disasters.
It certainly can lead to disasters, but some drivers have been waiting for this exact moment to pressure forward, and that's for the battle for the lead. Brandon Colley made the pass off the exit of turn 2, but firing right on back. It's Johnny Brugg first from 2nd place, back to the inside, not allowing the 1 to have the run, but the crossover move. Colley's going to have the speed as they continue to stay side by side, and the field is starting to get to that question mark window. Justin, we were given his pit cycle, the fuel window that we were given, around 31 to 33 laps for these drivers on when they were expected to hit pit road. It's going to be very close if drivers want to push this race out to a 2-stop. Some drivers might think a 3-stop, and we're right about to hit that window when drivers, oh no! Contact! Colley! Bruggs right in front of the field, and yellow flag strikes.
That's so unfortunate. Brandon Colley, such a great night going. We're going to have to hope you can get that car fixed, but that looked like some heavy damage on the front. I know it doesn't show it there necessarily, but that could be detrimental to his night and to the points.
As the drivers were trying their best to exit the corner, 2 drivers getting loose off the exit, and 2 different ways that they wanted to tackle there, and just pinched into one another. And then Johnny Brugg, who's trying to keep himself off the 1 but bounces off the wall, and that momentum so hard to stay off the driver, and just like that, Colley gets caught up in a mess. And this is something we've seen in past leagues with Colley, is when he's fighting for the lead, gets a little bit too greedy and things go awry quickly for the 1, and Johnny Brugg and the 1 machine both going to be dealing with damage. The races aren't completely over, but Bruggs gets the worst of it, require damage for the 20 machine. He's going to have to come into pit road, and Colley sent to the back after bringing out the yellow.
Yeah, that's two drivers that were right there on that bubble in the points, and that's not what they want to see. I mean, this race is 25% through. They still got 75% of the distance left, but getting all that damage fixed will be the most important thing right now for both of them, utilizing these cautions, and hopefully they can get these cars fixed somewhat to get salvage a decent finish. But right now, Ollie Fonseca is going to be our leader coming into the pits.
Into pit road's the 24, and everyone's going to enter pit road. I'd be surprised if anyone decides to stay out. The goal at this point now is completely swung open to this race is now no longer just a potential 2-stop. It is for sure a 3-stop. You pit now 2 more times after this, and you make your way into victory lane for somebody out there. And, you know, this certainly does change up how this race is going to look moving forward, Justin, but man, that aggressive driving up front, that's what we love to see. Auto Club has so much space, but the exit of the corner, that's where all the spacing kind of disappears and it turns into a 2 to a 1-lane surface at the end of the day. And seeing our leaders collected into that mess as some drivers going with a risky call. A fantastic pit stop, though, for Benjamin Nelson, stealing a couple of positions there with a great launch and pit stop for the 79.
We talked to the 79 last week, and he brought up his pit stops at Pocono. He was not the happiest with them. He must have done his homework all week because he nailed it right there, coming out with the lead. That's so important. Now he's going to be able to get that bonus point regardless of what happens here on the next restart. He's going to get the point under caution, which is going to be really important for him. Always good to have those extra points. Now Ken Campbell's going to be lining up second. It looks like Ollie Fonseca going to drop to third on that pit stall.
You know, and to try their best here on this go. And as we're under caution break, it gives us time to say thank you to the amazing sponsors that help here tonight. I know Brandon Colley's mom's not happy in the chat with the way that incident went, but we still got to say thank you for at least being the qualified sponsor for the WSSR the last couple of seasons. He had a great qualifying, great beginning run. It's now the story of what mental fortitude does Colley have to go for a run here tonight for a top 10 finish, if possible. But you never know, things might change up. Might go for a win if the cards line up properly. But also, we have to say thank you to Roasted Gems Coffee, being the title sponsor of the WSSR Cup Series for the last couple of seasons. It's been a pleasure to have them hopping on board. And if you're looking for a great coffee with plenty of different variety and coffee blends, go on over to roastedgems.com and remember to use the promo code WSSR for 5% off. Elevate your coffee experience with Roasted Gems Coffee. And as well, huge thank you to Trophy Smack. Trophy Smack's been the primary trophy for the last couple of seasons here at the WSSR. It went from rings that were custom for the championship driver that won to now a trophy. If you saw the beginning of our stream, you saw Benjamin Nelson hoisting the Season 7 trophy. Well, all these drivers here this season are battling for the Trophy Smack Season 8 trophy. And if you'd like to go find yourself with a championship trophy, belt, ring, or more, go on over to trophysmack.com and use the promo code WSSRSmack for 10% off. Thank you to all of our amazing sponsors that help out for the WSSR throughout the season. As the field stacked up 2x2, it's Benjamin Nelson, Ken Campbell, Ollie Fonseca, Nick Crawford, Ryan Kelly, and Bryson Hicksonball going to be your top 6. But here we go. It's going to be a good one here, Justin, on this restart.
Oh, it is going to be a good one. Before the restart, really quick, I just want to know, in the beginning, it looked like Douglas Newbegin got an EOL penalty. Still trying to do some research on that, but just wanted to bring the viewers on. But we are going to get back to the restart here. Benjamin Nelson going to fire off fast. Ollie Fonseca down on the inside line, going to look to try and get around. Ken Campbell, though, is taking it into turn 1.
Trying to take it down in turn number 1, and Benjamin Nelson, very quick restart, like always. When he's that lead driver, he knows how to get up front as quickly as possible. Ken Campbell, though, under fire from Ollie Fonseca, and Ollie was the lead driver coming into pit road, lost 2 positions, and will just slot back into that 3rd place spot. But for how long? Nick Crawford's there. The pressure, the battling, and everyone knows, get up front. That clean air is so crucial to have. You don't want to burn up too much of your rubber trying to get up there. Nelson off the exit of turn number 4. It's going to be the 79 leading this lap, but he's got a wall of drivers behind him that are trying to catch up that 79 machine.
Wall of drivers, first through 10th, separated under 1 second. 10th place being Kyle Heath. We know had a great speed last week. We're looking to see him get up through this field. But right now, Ollie Fonseca underneath Ken Campbell. Not going to be able to clear him, though, coming out of the corner. And this is what you're going to see. You're going to see that outside line and the 3 car right behind the 15. And he's going to go to the inside elevator, drop it down low. Is he going to be able to get by all these cars? It looks like he's going to try. He might get a 2-for-1 in this corner.
Trying to go for the slide job move and want to run off the exit of turn 2. Will get by Ollie Fonseca, not able to find the momentum by the 15 of Ken Campbell. Campbell keeps his foot in the throttle, but they're still 2 wide, almost 3 wide behind this crew as Kite squeeze as Isaiah Sutherland tries to bounce into that 3rd row. Not able to find that momentum. Instead tries to poke the nose in the middle, and all these drivers, yes, you can have the potential of going 5, 6 wide, but you also have to think that all these drivers have their own mentalities of how they want to tackle these entries into the corners, and that's where we can see disaster with all these quick dashing moves that we're seeing here early on.
Yes, that's what this racetrack provides. Is people on these restarts, cars are going to get aggressive. Some guys aren't going to care about saving those tires. They might be on a different strategy now, getting that caution. They might be looking to short pit the rest of the way here. Use up all those tires for the first 20 laps, go in, pit, do another 20, pit, do the final 20. People are going to be on all different strategies here, so you're going to see guys probably coming and going a lot more than we did in that first run. But right now, these guys are still racing side by side. This is just an incredible battle. These drivers are so tight racing here. As you see right here, the 74 going to get underneath him, but not be able to clear him coming out of the corner. He's going to have to try it again going in here.
Oh, trouble ahead of him, though. Ryan Kelly, huge slide, keeps it in front of him. What a save by Kelly. That was a massive potential wreck. But Ryan Kelly gets bumped by Ollie Fonseca, and the 3 went from battling for 3rd, now all the way down to 16th position.
And he just heated those tires up really bad. That was a huge slide in the corner. We saw him be really aggressive on that first lap, and after that restart, and then maybe kind of got a little loose there. You get back in that gas, and then the tires just don't want to take it, and then you start sliding, and now they're heated up. So it's going to be a problem for him to get back through this traffic.
He's got to be careful, cool it down. He's around, some other competitors that know how to get through the field as well. Shane Terry and Anthony Gaudio, Larry Yingling. He's in some pretty good company that know how to break into the top 10 and get inside of that top 5 at the end of a race. But some drivers still trying to utilize the draft as Nick Crawford, Isaiah Sutherland playing a little bit of back and forth for themselves as the 74-14 trying to hold back the field, but also figuring out how they can move forward. 5th on back, certainly a squeeze for some, but our biggest mover, Cody Reed, up to 8th place, 52. He's been trying to move forward inside of our top 10. Not a bad spot to be for Cody Reed. And as well, fighting back, we saw him disappear in that first run. The 8 of Brian McCann deciding a different strategy. It's time to be aggressive early on.
Time to go now as we see Cal Heath get up in the wall. We saw little sparks there out of the car, just a little kiss on the side. I think the lap before that, Bryson Hickson also did the same thing. Not really too much damage at all, so I don't think anything you guys have to worry about, but you don't want to do it too many times. But we see the 52 right now. He's stuck on the bottom. Isaiah Sutherland not giving him any room. They almost made contact there coming out of the corner, but Cody Reed's got something figured out maybe. He's just been moving up through this field.
I think Cody Reed might be banking on having a yellow pop out every 20 laps. Use the tires now, get up front, and hope that a caution is going to keep you in that lead net gain position and not worry about falling backwards. But you have to be careful. Isaiah Sutherland and Cody Reed both not giving each other a lot of room. So if there's a mistake, really could get caught up in a mess as Reed holds back Christopher Norris. And now going to be seeing 4 drivers side by side in line. Just once again, we enter turn 1, and everyone's searching for that speed and where the gap in where the grip is. But currently, it's Sutherland keep the nose ahead over Cody Reed, and it seems to be some frustration mounting up behind him.
Yeah, those cars are just, there's nowhere further along going. You can't really even risk out trying to save tires right now because there's so many cars there. If you take it easy through one corner, you might lose 2 or 3 spots, and that might be even harder to get back later on in this run. I mean, we're 35 laps through this race, so drivers are going to be having to change up their strategy. But right now, these guys just nowhere to go. They're 2 by 2 all throughout the corner, and they just fan out right here. In the bottom lane, middle lane, top lane, Zach Hall running all the way up against them all almost for that corner.
All 4 lanes being utilized, and a lot of wiggling though. Anthony Gaudio almost getting to the 18, but it's the 8 of Brian McCann with the biggest slide, and right back to fighting Ryan Kelly, who was up battling for 3rd at one moment, fell all the way back to 16th and is finally in a position where he can go into attack mode. The 3 making his redemption run to get back up front.
He wants those spots back. He probably right now thinking, oh, if I could have just been up in 3rd and not made that mistake, I'd probably be battling for the lead here, but don't count him out yet. We're not even halfway to this race. He still has a chance to get up there, but Ollie Fonseca is the guy who now moved into 2nd. He wants to get that lead back that he lost underneath pit stops.
Also, Brian P. Johnson, past winner here at Auto Club back in season 3. That's 25. Trying to get himself back to victory lane again this season and getting by Ken Campbell. As Brian P. Johnson also has been very good at these wear and tear tracks and trying to get himself up front, battling at Michigan. We saw drivers really willing to put on a great show there just a few weeks ago, and now battling for the lead. Benjamin Nelson really in a position of defensive driving, but for how long? Ollie Fonseca and the 24 really putting a lot of pressure on the rear end, almost giving a tap to the 79 on the entry of turn 1.
You can see all the cars behind him. They're just all starting to get closer. Isaiah Sutherland moving up to 6. He's found some great speed. And him and Zach Hall, 6th, 7th, and actually 8th, Bryson Hicksonbaugh. They're all starting to march to this field. But Ollie Fonseca is actually going to get to the lead here. He's going to get another lap led, which is going to be huge. But Benjamin Nelson going to fight back on the inside. It's going to be so close here at the line.
To the line, Ollie Fonseca will lead that lap, but looking behind them, there's other drivers that are in contention. Again, our top 5 all within a second of one another. Now you can make it our top 7 with Zach Hall and Isaiah Sutherland slowly inching closer and closer. And with the battling side by side for the lead, it's just allowing this pack to close back in as we've been 13 laps in this stint currently. Thanks so much to everyone who's been joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Wednesday night, giving you the coverage of the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. If you're just joining us, we had one caution flag come out after contact between the 2 leaders of Johnny Brugg and Brandon Colley. Colley's been able to recover up to 21st position. Brugg has not been able to recover. He's currently 3 laps down and back into the pits. But up front, Ollie Fonseca, Benjamin Nelson putting on a show for who's going to be the leader. And everyone else behind them, well, they've been giving us a show just as well. As Justin, I got to say, this race, I think doing everything that we thought it was going to be. Excitement, and everyone's still on top of one another.
This is such a fun race to watch. If you're a racing fan, you can't ask for anything more. We've been having a lot of these races lately, though. In this late, they've been putting on such great shows, different leaders, different winners. We never know who's going to walk away with these things. But we see a couple drivers get into the wall. Again, it looked like Bryson Hicksonbaugh maybe the 2nd time he got up there into that wall. So that's something we need to keep an eye on. We don't need any damage out of him if he wants to get into that top 25. But right now, up front, Benjamin Nelson was able to get back around Ollie Fonseca. Those guys have been swapping the lead, just putting on a great show. There's battles everywhere. Oh, the 14 and the 52 is so close coming out of the corner. Oh, these battles are everywhere.
Yeah, and Isaiah Sutherland over the radio, not very happy with the way that he's being raced by Cody Reed, and Reed not giving any space. And because they've been fighting back and forth so aggressively, so where Bryson Hicksonbaugh gets an opportunity to dive it down low, and they continue to stay 3 wide. And Bryson gets the spacing, the 14 not as much, as Cody Reed continues to keep the pressure up and trying to hold back Kyle Heath, who's utilizing the giraffe to stay in touch.
And we might almost need to get on board here with Kyle Heath if we have a chance, because these 2 are putting on a show in front. And there might be some action out of these drivers. There, like you said, there's some common talking going over the radio, but they're right on top of each other in each corner, just not giving each driver any spaces. Right now we see what Kyle Heath's about to do with these 2.
Have it down low, down in turn number 3. It's the 31 of Kyle Heath. Heath's been having a much better run the last couple of weeks. He's been showing signs of a top 10 race as Isaiah Sutherland gets close to that outside wall. Gives a chance for Cody Reed to mix his way forward, trying to get fully clear before he can dive down low into turn number 1. But Kyle Heath's nose is just too close. Cody Reed has to back off of that run, but I gotta say, for Kyle Heath, it's just finding the finishes that's been the troublesome spot for this 31 machine. And currently trying to do another great run here tonight, but in front of him, trouble! And oh no, it's Benjamin Nelson who gets clobbered by just that of James Heater. And issue strike for last season's champion. Oh no, battling for the lead, and it all went wrong.
Wow, that's the 2nd time tonight we've seen a battle for the lead. turn into an accident. That is going to be not what he wants to see at all. I can't wait to see this replay to see exactly what happened, but it's just one of those products of racing coming out of the corners at these tracks.
And for Benjamin Nelson, here is the battle for the lead. Exit the corner, gets into the outside wall, gets clipped by Brian P. Johnson, but watch this contact. Heater nowhere to go, and going slightly airborne is the 79. Hard contact for both Benjamin Nelson and James Heater, as they had no idea, I think, for Heater on where that wreck was. He was following right behind the 67 of Larry Yingling. Yingling dove down, and Heater just saw a vehicle in front of him. And disaster strikes for both as we go on board. James Heater get his sense of this wreck as he was just sitting in his cockpit, just driving along. And off the exit of turn 2, there's just no way to predict that you're going to be seeing this type of a wreck in front of you. As they were exiting out, seeing Larry Yingling do the crossover move, seeing nothing, issues. Oh, there's the vehicle, and slamming in the center of the backstretch.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it right there. You could never see that accident. There was cars in front of him, and unfortunately, they all dart to the left, and he was the last person not to be able to see it. Oh no, just so much damage for both of those guys. Their nights are definitely going to be done. They're going to be multiple laps down. There's just nowhere to go. You see the car just disintegrate. Wow. He's not going to be able to fix that like Brandon Colley was able to fix his car and get back up there. But those two guys are going to be in for a lengthy stop in pit road.
What's great, I'm not surprised by this. James Heater's engine looked like it was put over and done, so the 18's race could be over and dusted. For Benjamin Nelson, on the other hand, he's got his required damage done. Now he's working on that optional, which there's a lot of optional for the 79. As the field gets back out from the pit stops, everyone going to be stopping for fuel. And this is around that zone where we're expecting one more stop after this if the timing lines up for these drivers. But it's going to be Ken Campbell, that of Brian Johnson, Nick Crawford. Going to be up front. Ollie Fonseca, though, not going to be inside of our top 5. He actually falls all the way down to 7th for the 24. So drivers figuring out there is trouble on trying to get out of the pit road cleanly, as drivers have been losing actually a lot of positions. Some have been gaining a lot of positions under pit road.
The fans of Ollie are hoping that he can figure that out because he has tremendous race speed, but the pit stops are hurting him right now. That's twice that he's lost spots. Counted about 8 total positions on the past 2 pit stops. Not what he wants to see, but we know he has the race speed. He's going to get back up there, I think. He has a chance to win this race. He just needs to be able to hit his pit stops, no problem, and get the car in and out and not lose any spots. And I think he's going to have a really good chance at a top 3 finish.
I think he's got a really good chance as well. Ken Campbell, again, going to be your leader as they're waiting for the 1 to go marker to be shown. Once they cross the line, pace car lights go off. That will be giving us the sign that we've got 1 to go, as they were just given to the drivers. They'll stack up and get ready to go, which gives us time for another shout out to our amazing sponsors here tonight. Thank you so much to our qualifying sponsor, being Colley's mom, and as well to our title sponsor and white flag sponsor, being Roasted Gems Coffee. Roasted Gems Coffee has got some great quality blends for you to try out today. And if you'd like to try out some of their amazing blends or check out the amazing merch line that Roasted Gems Coffee has, go to roastedgems.com and use the promo code WSSR for 5% off. Thank you so much to Roasted Gems Coffee. Elevate your coffee experience with Roasted Gems Coffee. And thank you to Trophy Smack. Trophy Smack, if you're looking to be the envy of your competition or show off your victory or losses, go on over to Trophy Smack. They've got themselves already pre-made championship belts, trophies, rings, and more, but they also have customizable pieces. Such as their trophies, they've got customizable pieces, championship belts, rings. The rings and championships have been here at the WSSR for the past couple of champions, but as well they have customizable items such as the wall smack. It's a metal plate that you can stick on the wall with their wall safe magnet mounting system, or you can get by the stand and place it on your desk or wherever you would like. Wall smack, go get yours now, completely customizable at trophysmack.com using the promo code WSSRSMACK for 10% off. Well, the field's stacked up. We're ready to go back to green flag racing, and here we go. Ken Campbell and others going to be already on the lap pedal as they roar down into turn number 1. Already seeing drivers trying to go 3 wide, some thinking about 4 wide down into turn number 1.
fresh rubber. These guys are going to go inside, outside, wherever they want. Ken Campbell, though he wants the lead, he's going to try and go, but Brian Johnson going to be right on him. Christopher Norris, they're not going to let him go. We have a spin. Cody Reed in the back. He's able to save it. Not sure if he's going to keep it off the wall. As he slides to the inside, he's able to keep it off the wall. Looks like we're going to stay green. Single car spin, but Cody Reed, driver who had so much speed, unfortunately now going to hope not to go a lap down here as he gets the car going.
One of the few issues when you're driving down low is if you get on the throttle too soon, the rear end kicks out, and that's exactly what happened to Cody Reed. But for the lead, think about 3 wide, Christopher Norris diving it down low for the lead position, not able to grab it for himself just yet, but they are getting antsy up front. Norris sliding in front of Ken Campbell, and as well going to be Brian P. Johnson, and a little bit of contact. Here comes Zach Hall for the lead.
That battle, that move right there, Christopher Norris, a slide job in front of Ken Campbell, kind of stacked up the whole field. Isaiah Sutherland going to look to the inside. He's going to try and make the same move, get up to 3rd position. Is he going to be able to hold it coming out of the corner? He's going to have to slide up too. Zach Hall gets right underneath him almost, gives him space. Brian Johnson able to get in front of him. Oh no, these drivers are everywhere. Ollie Fonseca is going to get turned.
Ryan Kelly and others piling in late, but those are the primary 2 that go into the grass of Ollie Fonseca and Ryan Kelly. And they were getting at it, Justin. Holy smokes, as we were about to hit the halfway marker, they were driving like that was the last lap. They still have half a race to go, and every position was so crucial. But it all came down to a crushing halt for the 24 and the 3 machine. As you were seeing Isaiah Sutherland, Zach Hall, they were starting to squeeze up, move up on the track. And that squeezing motion got some drivers on top of one another. A slight clip from the 3 into the 24. And it's only those 2 that find the big issue and bring out the yellow.
And the most important thing right there is just those 2 are the only ones that are going to have any damage. The rest of the field able to escape that incident. But we're seeing the aggression just really pick up all of a sudden. Drivers are making not dive bombs, but they're really driving into the corner aggressive and then sliding up in front of the cars and hoping that those cars are going to then check up. And if those guys don't, they kind of just all stack the field up. And we're starting to see that a lot now.
We certainly are, as they're going to be seeing out of turn number 4 here, and you just see everyone squeeze. And this has been a talking point. When you lift up that rear bumper of the driver in front of you, you easily can get them loose and sideways, and they're going to be sideways spinning, wrecking. And at the time of the yellow, you saw they were side by side for the lead. Christopher Norris will actually have the lead position at the time of the yellow. So congratulations to 38 for getting up front as we hit the halfway zone. And ooh, Justin, I think these drivers, yes, I get it. We're at the halfway. They're always going to ramp up, get a little bit more aggressive, wanting to take every position possible, and the amount of give kind of drifts away. But I think they need to calm down, and maybe we need to calm down as well. So we're going to take our first commercial break of the evening. Thank you so much for joining with us here. Here's your top 5 as they're about to be thinking about maybe some for pit road, others staying out. Christopher Norris, Ken Campbell, Brian P. Johnson, Zach Hall, and Isaiah Sutherland, your top 5 currently. You're watching the WSSR Roast to Gems Cup Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We'll be back right after this.
Hey, this is Benjamin Nelson, your Season 7 WSSR Cup champion. I'd like to give a thanks to Roasted Gems Coffee, Trophy Smack, all the admins at WSSR, Snowy Desert Racing, everybody that tunes in to the Freaky Fast broadcast every week, including my family and friends, co-workers as well. And I am so honored to be able to hoist this beautiful trophy. I've never been more proud to be a champion.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Wednesday night coverage of the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me up at the booth is Justin Malarkey and Robert Moyer Jr. running productions in the background. If you're just joining us, had another quick yellow come out. The aggression level has ramped up quickly as we just hit the halfway marker. And I think the field knows it is wide open. Anyone's got a chance. Benjamin Nelson officially out of this race. Johnny Brugg, our pole sitter, officially out of this race. And now Christopher Norris leads the way as we're back to green flag action. It's going to be Norris as well as Zach Hall, Ken Campbell, your front three as they roar down into turn number one. Justin, the question's got to be, do they ramp up the anxiety and the chaos now, or do they start to calm down after that last yellow?
I think they're going to keep getting more exciting on these restarts as they come. It seems like no matter who's in the lead, though, ends up in a problem. Last two cautions, they're taking the leaders out, and then the previous caution, losing a couple guys and running third and fourth. Not what we want to see for our leaders, but Christopher Norris and Zach Hall, they don't care right now. They want to take first and second. They're willing to battle. They're going to try and get side by side as this race goes on. They're going to want to do what they can to get to the lead.
Three drivers up front, all on different teams, but our top three at one moment were actually teammates in a Tuesday series we used to cover in the Full Send Racing series. Now they're on all three separate teams. Christopher Norris, part of Snowy Desert Racing, Zach Hall on the Carolina Reapers team, and then Ken Campbell all on his own with his own team, trying to get themselves up front, survive, but they're wrecking behind. Huge calamity for drivers. And one involved, we talked about him, Cedric Hunter could not afford a bad night in the 13, massively destroyed. His night is over.
You can see the tire wobbling, the engine's exposed. Cameron starting also, as you see right now, the Cedric Hunters, they're smoking too. That's going to be all kinds of problems. Not the night he wants, but Cameron starting is also in an accident. You can see right here the replay.
There were multiple wrecks that looked like to be happening. That's the 99 overcorrection. Felt a loose sensation, overcorrects back up into the field. You see it there. Breaks loose, overcorrects back into the field, and a huge contact in front of the 9. But this is where Cedric Hunter's night comes to an end. Quickly goes down, slams into an iRacing glitch spot. Lands on all four, but that is one of those spots on a racetrack that sometimes if your car hits the right corner, your night is done immediately.
Yeah, his night was going to be troublesome regardless of the amount of speed he was carrying into that inside wall. Unfortunately, we hate to see that. We love watching, but right here we're on board. As you see, he almost has a save, but nope. And there it is. Boom, the tire barrier got him.
Those tire barrier, that when you hit a tire wall, especially in iRacing, it is one of the more vicious walls to hit because of the way that the kind of physics of a wall where the tires are, kind of grabs on the car, doesn't let it go. 13, it makes contact. There is the death corner. Does a flip. I mean, impressive that he lands on all four, but it was for nothing after the fact because he drives away and then the engine expires.
You can see the tire wobbling. We've talked about this before, Sam. We know that this is a simulator, but those accidents, I'm not saying that you're going to get hurt, but sometimes those steering wheels really whip on you. Some of these people run so much force feedback, those steering wheels kind of just rip out of your hand, and it does not a fun feeling when that happens.
No, especially for those that have, you know, like I said, higher force feedback, but also kind of those more updated steering wheels where the force feedback is even more aggressive than what some of the maybe the cheaper wheels are. Certainly not a comfortable feeling to have for yourself, but this field has started to drift away quickly. Here's your your race report. So far, this is our fourth caution of the day. We've had plenty of lead changes as well, which I think partly expected, but the way that the first 20 laps of this race went, I think we could have seen that this race was going to be maybe a 3-horse race. Instead, we're seeing a lot of new faces as we are now officially in the second half of this race. That anyone still has a chance here tonight. And you know, Justin, 4 cautions in. This isn't the most caution-filled race, but it looks to be either you have 1 caution or you have 6 to 7. It's been the trend here at WSSR.
Yeah, that seems to really be the trend. We had a couple races with almost no cautions or 1, and now we've seen after Pocono in this race, maybe some of the tempers are boiling over each race. Right now, though, I'm wondering if drivers are going to be pitting. It looks like no one's really going to come in. We didn't run too many laps, but getting into the back half of this race, I mean, if you're in the back, you have to start thinking, do you go in, get some fuel, get some tires now, try and get off strategy? but not seeing anyone do that yet.
No, and I think the main reason why, like we talked about, the fuel kind of runs that these drivers gave us, it was around 31 to 33 laps was the fuel window we were given. So that means these drivers aiming for around that of 68 to 67. Lap 66 to 67 is going to be the window that they're looking for. As we took another look at the weather conditions, as last time we saw was during the warm-up time. This is now during the actual race temp, and not as much change. It's still pretty similar, and I think that's the big thing with iRacing. When you come to night racing, there's not a huge swing that progresses from it already being night till getting later into the evening.
Yeah, that's always the consistency helps. The nighttime temperatures help keep it a little consistent, let these drivers know what to expect. But before we get back to green here, under the previous caution, we saw Cody Reed spin, and there ended up actually not being any caution. He did some damage to the tires, went into the pits, got fresh tires, was back in 27th under that previous caution, now up to 17th. Only ran about 3 green flag laps so far with the last 2 cautions, but a driver that we'll have to keep an eye on. We know he had a lot of short run speed. He got fresher tires just because he pitted when others didn't. So it'll be really interesting to see if he's able to move up before pit stops happen again, which we expect to be around lap 70 for the window to open.
Yeah, a window for these drivers to open at that point, or you pit now, take some tires, and see how much kind of you can gain with that extra rubber, as they still, for some, have 2 sets to work with in pit road, such as Brian McCann, Brady Colley, taking an extra set. They still have 2 in pit road. The rest of the field have 3 sets in pit road to work with on tires. But we're back to green flag action. Christopher Norris, Zach Hall going to be the front 2. Everyone else trying to figure out where do you place your machine to make sure you don't get caught up in the next wreck, but also you're moving forward.
Brian Johnson, he wants to move forward. Is he going to get a second to get around Zach Hall? Christopher Norris, though, he's not going to give anyone a chance to get around him. He's going to check out going down this back straightaway. But Zach Hall's able to stay in front of Brian Johnson coming out of turn 2 as they head into turn 3.
And remember, Brian P. Johnson, Zach Hall, teammates for the Carolina Reapers team. Their other teammate, Shane Terrian, back in 21st position, caught up in that last incident, brought out a yellow. These drivers know, hey, if you can have a teammate, it's nice to have. Utilize the draft to work with one another. But at the same notion, this track is a lot more of how selfish can you be to get yourself in a position to move forward. The team aspect, very small and minimal, but it's always nice to have someone you can trust to give you a little bit of extra space if it's needed to move up, like Zach Hall just had with Brian P. Johnson.
Yeah, that's all he's huge. It's just nice. It's hard. Not everyone has spotters out there. Some of these drivers do, but for the most part, you're relying on iRacing spotters. But if you could have a teammate who says, hey, I'm going to make sure you're able to come out of this corner in front of me and be clear so we're not side by side, that's always nice. So it was great to see that happen on the restart there for Zach Hall and Brian Johnson. But I tell you what, we're getting close to being under 40 to go. When it gets down towards the end, those drivers are going to want to both win, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that. You see Brian Johnson just pushing Zach Hall, trying to give him all the speed he can and get closer to Christopher Norris, but not able to do it.
Not able to do it, but again, that team aspect. Trust the driver that's behind you to give you a clean push on the straightaways, and the front stretch, not a safe place to be, as there's a lot of wiggling going on in the middle of the field as Brian McCann in 17th place gets into the outside wall, gets to turn 2. Starting to see some new faces prep their way forward, just climbing inside of our top 15. It's the 7 of Douglas Newbiging, the last driver to win at this racetrack last season. And currently mired back in that 14th place. He's having a slow march up moving forward. And for the 7, he currently is not in the most comfortable position, kind of stuck in the hornet's nest, but trying his best to move forward. One of the other big movers, Anthony Gaudio in the 29 machine, trying to make his best moves, but they are still not letting each other breathe from around 7th back to 15th.
Yeah, that's kind of that zone that we've seen all night. You just are in that cluster. You could be 15th, and if you could just get around 7 cars in one corner, you could be right up there. But they're all right on top of one another, and getting around them is the hardest part. But I tell you what, Zach Hall, he's trying to get around the leader up front. He's getting closer to him after that nice restart Christopher Norris had. Zach Hall's going to be trying to look to make a move here.
Zach Hall has been helping and teaching Christopher Norris for the last year and a half, trying to help the 38 develop as a driver. And at this moment, doesn't want to give Christopher Norris that win just yet this season. But Norris has always been, one of those better stories to talk about, how we've seen a driver evolve from being a driver known to bring out cautions, if not 1, 3 cautions per race, is someone that's now challenging for a win here tonight. And there's other drivers that we've seen immediately from us covering them here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting that we know can be quick. One of those being Ken Campbell, that's leading the drivers from 4th on back.
Yeah, Ken Campbell's having a really nice night tonight. He showed last week at Pocono really good speed, and he carried it over to tonight. You mentioned Christopher Norris, one of those drivers that really improved, and that's something that the league and drivers as a whole, they notice. They get excited for him. They're happy to see him up there. It's always great to be able to help get drivers faster, improve. It also makes for the racing better. Like you said, if he was bringing out cautions, now he's not. Now he's a driver who's challenging for wins week in and week out. And right now, Zach Hall, he's starting to think, did I teach this guy too much that I can't get around him?
I mean, it wouldn't be the first driver that they felt that same way, but currently the chaos still mounting from 6th on back. Isaiah Sutherland, again, it was one of those drivers that was on the outside being pinched heavily, not allowed to really get a lot of spacing to work with. Now he's on the inside, trying to put the pinch on the drivers on the outer groove, and this 14 just doesn't have any drafting help on the straightaways, and that's really what's hurting Sutherland right now, but continues to play a little bit of chicken with these drivers entering these corners with that high potential chance of netcode being an influence with how close they are.
Yeah, running that bottom, though, it just kind of eats up the tires, and then everyone has the draft is working against you up top. He probably doesn't want to stay down there too long since he's starting to just lose spots now, as he's just stuck down on the bottom, and they're all kind of ganged up on the top. Larry Ewing now going to get around him, but he's one of those drivers that has speed. We saw him make the moves. It's just all these guys have speed. It's just who's able to come out of the pits and get all these positions back. That's the problem. Ollie Fonseca was one of the leaders earlier, and now he's back in 12th position with some bad pit stops, so he's a driver who was still waiting to get back up.
Yeah, he also saw there was a gaggle of cars behind this group, and that is the drivers around 12th, 13th position. Those being Ollie Fonseca, Jason Tamer, and then it kind of looks like a Christmas tree when you go back 3 wide, almost 4 wide at moments. But it's Ollie Fonseca trying to hold back the pack for himself to stay inside our top 15. Jason Tamer, who we've seen only once this season, that was back at Texas, didn't have the best showing in the world, but the 81 is happy to be back out there on track, and he's running around with drivers that, for some, having their best run this season, others are on heroic rebounding after some mishaps earlier tonight, as the 29, the 7, make their way forward with a continue to look like a hornet's nest, just waiting and pending for whenever the yellow is going to come from this group.
Yeah, you're seeing these guys try to make all these moves here everywhere. Anthony got to go and drop it down to the bottom. He's trying to make these moves. And Cody Reed, we mentioned him, maybe has a little bit better tires. He's trying to come back up to the field after his self-spin. He's running all the way up against the wall, but Anthony Gaudio is going to try and go up there to block him, but not going to be able to do it. It looks like Cody Reed's going to get to his outside, potentially. No, Anthony Gaudio is going to shut the door as we see a blink out of the 52.
And that's been the issue all night long. A lot of drivers have been queuing up to Cody Reed saying, hey, you're blinking really bad here tonight. It started off in the first 15 laps of the race. It went away where he was having stable internet about halfway through this run, but it is crept back. And Cody Reed, in the thick of things, that is the worst time to be having, like, your internet is going away. Maybe iRacing has having issues for the 52. But luckily, he's been stable for a full lap, and he's hoping that can continue forward. But stuck in the middle of this group are drivers that took 4 sets of tires under our most recent yellow, that being the 8 machine of Brian McCann and the 1 of Brandon Colley, and they're stuck on the outside trying to move forward, but it is still a madhouse back here, practically racing for what it feels like last place, but it's the end of this lead pack.
Wow, you can see Brian McCann just how much more he's able to get into the corner. Looks like he was carrying an extra 20 feet getting into the corner, but look how close Anthony Gaudio is to the 24 coming out of that corner there. But Brian McCann wants to get away from all these cars with those tires that you mentioned. He's going to pull down the straightaway, get some draft, and look to make another pass going into turn 1 and 2.
Attack, go forward, and as we've been watching this madhouse, the battle for the lead has now transferred over to Zach Hall as Christopher Norris falls down to 2nd place under fire from Brian P. Johnson. And doing their best to get by the 38 machine is Zach Hall and going to be his teammate of Brian P. Johnson. Those two have been really a dynamic duo this season with how well they've been trying to stay up front. But again, with the stabilization up front, we have to fall back to 15th and 16th position because that Hornet's Nest is still ramping up. They're 3 wide, 2 rows deep. They just won't let it go away here, Justin. They're just waiting for a mistake and almost there as Shane Terry and Cody Reed almost make contact down into turn number 1.
They're just everywhere. We see James Tater going around Anthony Gatto on the outside. Is going to make so close. You see the action right there. He wasn't able to do it, but thank God, because that could have been a potential accident like we saw earlier in the run where guys aren't able to clear coming out of the corner and they kind of just slide up. But look at these cars everywhere. Brandon Colley trying to make a nice rebound, but he could get by 4 or 5 cars in front of here. He's going to maybe right back to the top 10 potentially.
They continue to battle back and forth. Anthony Gaudio, he just always is trying to go back and forth and block all 3 lanes. Sometimes it works out, other times it doesn't. But they're starting to calm down a little bit more, and I think that's showing the signs that the tires are starting to fade away a little bit, every little bit as these laps tick away. I've been watching some of the drivers that have been advancing forward. That's Brian McCann. Talked about that speed on how fast the 8 was running there. Again, decided to take tires under that last stop. He's moved up to 11th, and right now on the tail end of this lead pack, and there's been radio chatter. Drivers thinking about pit stops here as we just hit the 30 laps to go marker.
Yes, great point. You see guys coming in right now. Looks like Ryan Kelly peeled off back there. 2 other cars right at the tail end going down pit road. Drivers are in that window right now. You pit here, you get your fresh tires, and you're going to gain a lot of time out there, especially not having to race anyone. If you're out on that clean track, that could be really nice. It's something we're going to keep an eye on. But Brian McCann, he might be one of the drivers in the seat right now. He's got the fresh tires. He's probably going to stay out the longest. If we do get a caution, he's able to trap a lot of the cars down a lap. That could be a game changer for his night.
It certainly could be a game changer, and we're going to keep our eyes on this 8. The lane that he's been preferring has been the outside, and you're seeing in front of him, all the lead drivers are running that outside groove, almost identical to where the 8's been as he's been climbing through this pack. So not the safest position, but you're going to have to try something different if you're Brian McCann. You got that fresh rubber and test out the inside row. See if there's any little bit of extra grip you can find down there, but as well, have to be careful of the drivers that just came off a pit road from their pit stops. They're going to be just as quick, and they're going to have to use that inside row.
Yeah, we see Ryan Kelly coming out of the pits, but what happened? He went a lap down, so the gamble is go in and get that fresh rubber, but if these leaders don't pit and you're trapped a lap down, that does not matter. If a caution comes out, your race cannot go the way you want, so he's going to have to do everything he can to get up there and try and unlap himself, because these guys could stay out for another 10 to 12 laps potentially.
Trying their best. Where do you place yourself moving forward? As more drivers have made their pit stops, Ryan Kelly in the 3 machine. Interesting call for himself as he's trying to get by this front pack. Looks like for Kelly, 2 tires for his stop. That's a gutsy call. Came in full fuel, just 2 tires. I don't know how I feel about that call, but Justin, that's a very interesting one that you're trying to cut on time as well. Hoping that track position will be gifted to the 3 machine.
Yeah, he saved about 7 seconds in the pit stop by taking just right side tires, but I don't know, with 30 laps to go, I think 4 tires are going to gain back 7 seconds just by having that speed. But we're going to find out. It's something we mentioned. We'll bring it up. We'll watch. We'll take note. We'll see how it goes. But right now, he's flying out there with just 2 tires. I can't wait to see a driver who takes 4. What they're able to do, it looks like he's going to unlap himself probably by the next corner, so you won't have to worry if a caution does come out.
That's a big positive for Ryan Kelly they can take, is if he gets himself in front of this group and unlaps himself the hard way, it'll make sure if caution flag comes out, he doesn't have to start at the end of the line with that Lucky Dog award. As the field up front, starting to hear a lot more chatter. Pit stops underway as a lot of front runners hit the pit road. It's going to be Brian P. Johnson leading the drivers that were up front. That was your 2nd place runner who decides to hit pit road.
We will keep a note on that. We'll be one of the first leaders to hit pit road, so we'll have to see, will he be able to get the lead, or will these other drivers who pitted even earlier, are they going to come out with the lead? As we see Ed Shearer Jr. right now get into his stop. Looks like a great clean entry, which is what you want.
Still up front, going to be Zach Hall. He's got a 2nd over Nick Crawford. Crawford having a little bit of a war that he's trying to hold back with Bryson Hickson. Bob, it looks like pit stops for drivers are really slow, and there's Zach Hall making his showing to pit road, and many of others behind. Let's see the 32 able to hit his pit entry as these drivers slowing down. They're going about almost 165 through the corners. Slow down to just a mere 55 at pit entry. And also, when you're coming into pit road, you got to make sure that you don't run into one another. If you've got different pit stalls, then the drivers you're around don't want to be making unnecessary contact with one another, as Zach Hall and the rest of this group that just pitted all look to be clean stops. No one overshooting their box, which is very critical. Cannot make a mistake now.
No mistakes now. You mentioned getting on the pit road. It is so hard. These drivers are so talented, they make it look easy. But trying to get the car slowed down and to turn left when it has old tires, old hot tires on this worn out surface that has zero grip, the car just doesn't want to turn. It's kind of like Darlington, such a hard pit entry there. Very hard to get into this pit entry also. Something that definitely these drivers are not going to want to make any mistakes though. But the 74 car looks like he beat the leader of the previous leader coming out of the pits, so we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Once again, we are seeing drivers making mistakes and just having slow stops that are costing them time and positions, as Nick Crawford going to be back out on track, but not the lead driver of those that have already made their stop. That will actually be gifted to Ryan Kelly, still ahead over Shane Terrian. Terrian pitted a lap after this three machine. A little bit of mix-up on where the drivers were lined up, but through this pit cycle, it looks to be Ryan Kelly going with the two-tire stop, giving himself a 5-second buffer over the drivers behind him that continues to keep himself in a great position to move forward. It's Cody Reed going to be the lead driver currently, still needing to pit this time, and over the radio saying he will pit. Brandon Colley still out on track, same for Joshua Corner. Both of those drivers can stay out for another 10 more laps to another 7 laps as they hit under a last yellow, but Cody Reed expected to hit pit road, same for the likes of Larry Yingling, as he's actually going to be entering and leaving his box here shortly.
And taking the lead back is our driver with the first incident of the night, Brandon Colley. We do not want to bring the commentator's curse up, but we're so excited that he was able to get back up here. He's done a great night, having a great night after that damage fixing, getting the car fixed, getting everything nice and neat. Look, the car looks clean out there. But right now, if a caution was to come out and he's able to stay out maybe, say, 3 or 4 more laps, these guys will probably go in and use another set of tires, so he might actually stay the leader if he's able to go another 3 or 4 more laps.
Yeah, he could be someone to watch out for here, as we're waiting for the one to hit his box. Same for Joshua Corner and Cameron Sargent, two of the last drivers to hit their box. So we get this time for one last shout out of our sponsors before we send it off to a commercial break. So I want to give a big thank you to Colley's mom for being the qualifying sponsor for the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series, and to our title sponsor of Roasted Gems Coffee. Go check out some of their popular blends such as French Vanilla and as well Cinnabon, and explore their other wide range of high quality blends at roastedgems.com. Great quality that you need to try out. Elevate your coffee experience with Roasted Gems Coffee today. And remember to use the promo code WSSR for 5% off. And Trophy Smack. We talked about how great the wall smack is for these drivers. Well, for some, maybe you'd like to go find yourself a championship, trophy, belt, ring, or more. Well, we'll talk about them after that, because we got ourselves a caution flag, and this changes everything.
Brandon Colley, he stayed out. I bet you everyone's going to go in and take tires again. I can't see anyone risking staying out on old tires, especially if you have 5 or 6 laps on them. Fresh rubber's going to be right behind. Brandon Colley could be sitting in a good seat to maybe get a top 5 after the accident from earlier in the race.
Trying to see what brought out this yellow. And we're just trying to figure it out, but a bizarre timing for these drivers as the 22 gets ran over by Cody Reed. And for Joshua Corner, again, was out there on extremely old tires. And for Cody Reed, shocking. I don't think he was expecting the 22 to be that slow. And contact made for themselves. And as we rewatch this, it just looks like for Cody Reed, he was running his own lane and the 22 drops right in front of him. And Cody was trying his best to get around, but there just wasn't enough spacing. And I think that was just a little bit, maybe a lapse of self-awareness on where to place your car and not giving Cody Reed maybe enough time to react there.
No, one of those incidents, maybe fresh tires versus old tires, different closing rates. But right now, under 19 to go, we're probably going to get a restart here with 17 to go. I would expect these guys to go in and get tires. I can't see anyone staying out, but they might prove me wrong. We saw Ryan Kelly only take 2. I think he's going to want to definitely go in and get 4. He's not going to want to risk 4 fresh tires being behind him on this restart.
No, and for Brandon Colley, Joshua Corner, I mean, Corner ended up being involved in that wreck, but able to keep his second place position. The 22, even with the wreck, able to keep himself in a good spot here. As drivers hit pit road, the drama mounts up. Whoo, here we go, Justin. It's going to be less than 20 laps to go. We already kind of got a preview of right before we hit the halfway marker of how chaotic these drivers can be on a restart. It's going to be ramped up to 11 now on every restart from here.
Yeah, I'm curious if anyone was watching Ryan Kelly take 2. Do you think anyone will take 2 under here? Especially if you just pitted about 5 laps ago. Maybe they want to get that track position, someone back in 10th position, maybe going to try and do it, get the lead, but it'll be really interesting. I think Ryan Kelly stayed out, which is really surprising. I didn't see him pit.
No, he decided not to pit. Same for Bryson Hixenbaugh. There is quite a few drivers deciding to stay out under this pit stop. We got 5 in total. Ryan Kelly, Bryson Hixenbaugh, Brian McCann, Larry Yingling, and Jason Tamer deciding to stay out. Ryan Kelly with the oldest tires and the driver that took 2 tires. He's the one who's probably in the most shocking scenario of deciding to stay out.
I truly am shocked. If I had to bet money on that, I would think he would have definitely come in and get 4 tires. I don't know if he feels like the car feels great. Maybe he feels better on 2, but I still would want 4 on this restart. We saw how some drivers are just able to charge into the corners on these restarts. He might not be able to do that on these older rubber, but he will have a buffer. He'll have about 5 cars between them, but that could get eaten up really quick, especially with how wide this track is.
Well, it does also seem that some drivers are going to go with the same mentality of Ryan Kelly. 2 tires was the mentality for 4 that decided to come into pit road, being led by Brian P. Johnson in 7th place. 4 tires, that of 2 tires goes to the 27. Nick Crawford in 8th, taking 2 tires. Zach Hall in 9th, taking 2 tires. And Christopher Norris, also in 10th, deciding to just take 2 tires under this stop. 1 for track position, and 2 maybe feeling like they need to loosen up this vehicle a little bit more.
I'm going to need to see if you can get a check on Brandon Colley. Was he able to get 4? Because he has such a big lead built up that by the time the other cars caught up to him, he was already into the pit. So I think he was able to go in there and probably sit and take 4. So he might be in the first driver with 4 tires. Plus he's ahead of these guys with 2.
My goodness. Just now, was not expected, was one of the 5 drivers that stayed out. Bryson Hixenbaugh dropping out due to packet loss. Internet strikes for the 63, and he will not be able to come back in time. Another driver getting knocked off. That's Nick Crawford. Oh no, a mass exodus of 2 drivers. Will there be a third? Everyone's on pins and needles now in the lobby. They are getting very chatty and very nervous right now, Justin.
Wow, I am not sure what causes that. I'm not up to date on how that works with internet connections, but that is not what those 2 drivers want to see. Bryson Hixenbaugh trying to get into the top 25 in points. He has that win, but he needs to get in the top 25. But the 74, he had such great speed all night. I was really expecting him to contend for this win. But now we're going to be restarting this race with 2 less drivers.
2 less drivers. Also, Brandon Colley was able to take those 4 tires. He will now be restarting in 6th place on this go, as Brian P. Johnson will be able to take over the positioning of where Bryson Hixenbaugh was. Shocker, drama, it's all mounting up, and we have less than 20 laps to go here at Auto Club. Ryan Kelly with the oldest tires goes with the gutsy call. Outside lane is for the 3, and here we go with 17, making 16 laps to go. Everyone roars down into turn number 1.
16 laps to go, 42 seconds a lap is going to be great. These drivers are already fanning out. You're going to see these guys making all the moves they can. Right up there. They're sliding, they're spinning in the back. They're 15. Ken Campbell, he's going to be done for the night.
Huge contact for Ken Campbell and others that came in late to the end of this party. And it looks to be the 25. Oh, James Kaufman and others caught up in that incident late, just nowhere to go for themselves. And what was once was 1 spin, bring it up to a total of 4 drivers involved. Tyler Dangler with required damage, James Kaufman required damage, and it looks to be as well James Heater, who's already dealing with required damage. All gonna be sitting in the parking lot to watch this race.
This race has turned into quite a few cautions in the last 5 5 laps here. We got multiple cautions. We're going to see right here what happened. These drivers on the restart get into the corner. They're going to fan out, and I think product of cold tires, trying to drive a little too hard. Cold tires looping into them.
Down low. The big thing that you can take away this for Nick Crawford, Bryson Hicksaball, they're trying to get back into the session, not able to, but the 15 spins, there's the yellow, and oh man, it looked like James Kaufman also was breaking loose, so he had zero way of controlling that 25, and the ricochet back into Tyler Dangler and a few other drivers. They're late, so violent at the end of that incident.
Yeah, if we're able to get back to that, maybe in-car camera, it looked like some guys in front of Ken Campbell actually maybe got into each other, and maybe that caused him to have to drive a little bit different and cause a little bit of that accident. I think we'll be able to see here if that might have been what happened, and maybe up there by Douglas Newbigin is 7.
I mean, Douglas was sending it in there. He was getting very aggressive and almost up to Christopher Norris. So I know those drivers were very close to one another. And 15, I think he just gassed it up. He just gassed it up, was too low, cold tires released, and slid. And here's the violent hit of Kaufman back into Tyler Dangler, and another car going semi airborne there.
Well,
that's going to be hard contact for the both of them.
Oh, those cars are junked now. As we see Cedric Hunter, though, speaking of a car that was damaged earlier, he's still out there trying to get back any positions he can, but look at that left front tire, doesn't even want to go straight.
Yeah, the 13 has just been crab-legging his way around and trying his best out there. As update for Nick Crawford and Bryson Hicksaball, both, again, right before we went green, both dropped out of the session with packet loss, and that could be a multitude of different reasons on why they dropped out, but they both have been trying to get back into the session, but every time they jump in, it knocks them back out of the session. So they're both very frustrated as the 74 and the 63, and this is probably very, if we don't see any other drivers miss races, this could be the end of Bryson Hicksaball's chance of taking that win that he got a few weeks ago to moving forward into the playoffs.
Yeah, we hate to see that for him. We were really excited to see what he could do if he can make it into the playoffs, coming late into the league, but getting that win. Unfortunately, though, that could be trouble for him. But one thing we want to talk about, all the excitement with these accidents, let's go back up front. Ryan Kelly, though, he stayed out. We weren't sure if we liked that strategy, but now with that caution, more laps are knocked off, Sam. Now it's going to be about 12 to go when we restart. If we get another caution, it could be down to 8 to go. Will it give these guys who did get fresh tires enough time to get up through the field?
I mean, the first couple of drivers we got to watch out for. It's going to be Brendan Colley in 5th. 6th will be Brian P. Johnson. Those are the drivers that are back in that 3rd row. I think it's close enough that they can easily, if they are able to run 2 to 3 green flag laps, they'll be back into this fight. But that's the big key, is can they get those green flag laps? Because we know with how quick that yellow flag came out, it helps Ryan Kelly on those old tires, but everyone else that got fresh rubber, their tires are even colder now on this restart.
Yeah, and we saw what happened with drivers getting loose on restarts. We saw it with the 15, we saw it with the 52 earlier in the night. Cold tires on this old worn out track, you almost need to give them a lap to get some heat built into them before you start pushing hard. But up front, Ryan Kelly's not going to have that problem. He's got those tires warmed up. They're cooled down now where they have nice max grip, but they're going to be a little bit warmer than everyone else's, and he's going to be able to get off, fire off, and get to the lead. And hopefully for him, he's hoping that maybe another quick caution, give him another chance to cool it off. But we're going to find out. They're getting ready to go green here. Brian McCann, Ryan Kelly, 1st and 2nd.
Ryan Kelly as well. That's going to be Brian McCann. Going to be your front 2 for McCann. He's finished 2nd a couple of times here this season. He's gotten 1 win. For Ryan Kelly, he's gotten 1 win for himself. They want to join the class of Benjamin Nelson with 2 wins this season. Do they have the tires to hold on? Let's find out as we're back to green flag racing. Kelly with a great launch on the inside. Going to be having Larry Yingling right behind him. Last week's winner. And for Larry Yingling, where did he come from? This guy was back and battling for 15th for the most of this race. Now it's in our top 5.
Larry Yingling looking to do what he did last week at Pocono, win. But is he going to be able to? He's down on that inside, but Ryan Kelly's going to go down to try and give some draft to him, try to keep those guys side by side. But James Tater doing everything he can to push Brian McCann down that straightaway. James Tamer trying to get up into 2nd position now. He's going to stay on the outside of Larry Yingling, go under Brian McCann. They're going to go 3 wide coming out of the corner. James Tamer, he has the speed right now. What's he going to do getting into turn 1?
Jason Tamer going to be the driver to watch out for in the 81. Has started one race this season and opened for his best run so far. He finished all the way back in 39th. That was back in Texas early in the season. And now the 81 on the inside row. He's got fresher tires than the 3, and now one nose ahead over Ryan Kelly, trying to find that lead position, but as well waiting in the wings. It's the 28 of Brian P. Johnson. Christopher Norris, the fresher tires, rip the top, and that's exactly where they want to be placed. Brian McCann's nose is blocking them off. They cannot continue forward. Instead, it's the side-by-side battle for the lead. Zach Hall to the apron. The 32 does not want to be stopped.
Zach Hall wants that lead back. He has the tires, two tires on him. He wants to come Brian Johnson up on the top lane, though. Like you said, he's got cars blocking on that outside, so Zach Hall is going to go to the inside. James Tamer looks like he's going to clear Ryan Kelly coming out of the lead, but Zach Hall, he's a man on the mission. As Ryan Kelly gets sideways, gets some touching in the back there. Looks like Brian McMahon got it into the back bumper. This race is getting crazy going into turn 3.
Getting a little bit mixy. Where do you want to place yourself? Well, there's 6 different lanes utilized there on the entry of turn 3. Off the exit of 4, though, they squeeze down to 3 wide. Others making contact. Heath gonna get into Sherwood Jr. They hold on for now, and more drivers blinking out. John Forbes is now gonna be the next victim of losing connection. These drivers now know it's not just a race to get to the end of this night, but maybe a race to stay in the server. As we're seeing now, 3 drivers officially knocked out with packet loss. How many more will be lost before the race is done? But up front, it's Jason Tamer still leading as he's having some trouble. Sherwood Jr. And as well Shane Terrian almost contact as they go down to 3.
Brian Johnson can go to the outside of Tamer, though. He's going to have the momentum and the drafting help from Zach Hall behind, but Tamer's going to try and close the door. He's able to. Brian Johnson going to elevator drop it down to the inside. Zach Hall's going to stay up. This is going to be a battle. Is Brian Johnson going to be able to clear him? He's not going to be able to clear him going into turn 1. He's going to have to do it coming on the exit, but he's able to in the middle of the corner. Brian Johnson to the lead.
Brian Johnson making the pass cleanly. The season 1 champ cleanly able to make that pass. Ryan Kelly, though, big loss, losing over 8 positions off of a bad exit further in the field. But up front, it's still Jason Tamer not giving up. The difference is 6 laps on tires, but really, it's more closer to a difference of 3 laps of green flag racing between this group of up front top 3. But it is a battle between 2 tires versus 4. Is it the 4 older tires of Tamer, or will it be the 2-tire call from Zach Hall and Brian P. Johnson? Larry Yingling fighting still on older rubber as well in the 67. It's just the duel back and forth. Who's going to be willing to fight for a huge slide job move to make some of these major passes as the teammates Zach Hall, Brian P. Johnson continue to fight up front?
Teammates are doing what they need to. They're utilizing the draft to get around the 81. The 81 is stuck down on that bottom, not able to come out of the corner. He's actually going to be under pressure here from the 67 of Larry Yingling. So right now it's Zach Hall in second place, though. Brian Johnson, how's he going to get around him? Larry Yingling's coming. He's not, don't count him out. He wants to go back to back, win 2 races in a row.
Advancing forward is Yingling, but for how much further as Christopher Norris put pressure on the back end of the 67, and teammate of Brian P. Johnson and Zach Hall, Shane Terrian, into the mix. Our top 7 are majority of drivers that have advanced forward from their qualifying position as they continue to fight forward. The only driver that didn't qualify outside of our top 10 that's inside of our top 6 is Brian P. Johnson, who qualified 8th. These front runners are all drivers that have had to fight, defend, and hold on, but it will have to be a reset. That's trouble. Ollie Fonseca, Cody Reed make some contact with one another.
Wow, we are going to have a potential green light checkered. We've seen these restarts be incredible. It's going to be another crazy restart here, but we're going to find out what happened on this caution.
It is actually going to be Brandon Colley and Cody Reed making contact with one another off the exit of turn 4. Slight contact with Ollie Fonseca, but watch out for the 52. Throwing it down low, was all the way at that inside seam, and then he just climbs up to the wall. Not clear, and gets clipped by Colley, who just had the better run and drives right through the 52.
Yeah, the 52, he was able to go up, but doesn't have that momentum coming out of the corner. Brandon Colley just has so much momentum, and the 52 just pretty much pulls right in front of him. You can't expect the one to lift right there. If the one lifts, he's going to lose all his spots, and he was entitled to that position. So that's one of those racing incidents. But these drivers up front, I can't see anyone pitting right now with only going to be about 3 laps to go. I don't see the top 10 pitting. Maybe someone in the back might.
Yeah, I mean, maybe someone who's 15th on back, they might think about pitting pit road and called out 15th. It's actually going to be 13th. Douglas Newbegin, who's going to hit pit road, and then everyone for 15th on back. It's that stopping position, and I'm not surprised by that. I mean, most of these drivers still had one set to work with in pit road. Might as well take it. You have a chance. Majority of the drivers ahead of you have 20-lap-old tires. You're going to have some type of advantage to work with if you can get a good run. So why not go out and tackle and take some of these spots away?
Yeah, if you're able to get a great restart and get 4 or 5 cars, and maybe we get another caution, another green, white, checkered, before you know it, maybe you get up to 10th, then 5th, and you know what? If you have the 4 tires and you get a 3rd green, white, checkered attempt, you might be right there. But getting back to this restart, Brian Johnson, Zach Hall, they're going to be 1-2. Who's going to choose which lane? And then what's going to happen behind them? You're going to have Larry Yingling on the inside and Christopher Norris on the outside.
Yeah, it's one of those things where how are these drivers up front? Who are your teammates? Can you count down if you're the top 2 of Brian P. Johnson and Zach Hall? Because their teammates, they might try to cycle and make this run work for themselves on this attempt. Or could we see someone else maybe try a gutsy call? Also, do have an update on the Nick Crawford, Bryson Hicksonbaugh, and John Forbes issue. It looks like all drivers that were connected through the West Coast servers on iRacing, they were all the ones that got knocked off. So that is highly unfortunate for those drivers. I know Nick Crawford has been trying ever since he got knocked off to get back into the session, and it just is not possible for those drivers. You really hate to see that happen for drivers that, for some, were in such a critical moment, and they just don't have the capability to even come back and fight for these better points.
Well, with 3 laps to go here, I know there's a broadcaster up here on the West Coast, and I'm not expecting him to go anywhere because it's going to be an exciting finish, and I can't wait to call it with you.
Oh, luckily I'm part of the California server, so I am good. It's all the guys that I think that are in the SoCal and those in the southern west area that are really being hit currently. So I'm good. Well, I should be at least good. Crossing my fingers. Hopefully I don't come to curse myself. But we'll see how these restart goes for these drivers. Again, we're stacked side by side with the with pace car lights off, giving us the 1 to go marker. We are going to be inside of a regulation green, white, checkered. So when we go green, if we get a yellow flag on this first lap, the race will go into overtime. But if we get the white flag, this race becomes official, and it's all about who crosses the line first and who could be joining the likes of Benjamin Nelson with 2 wins. Or could we find it ourselves with another new winner? Could we find our 9th different winner this season? Or will we find someone joining the 2-time winning column for Season 8? It's time to go racing here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you've been enjoying the show of the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. It's been a pleasure. My name is Sam Dyer. With me was Justin Malarkey and Robert Moyer Jr. Here we go. First attempt at a green-white checkered. Will we need overtime? Let's find out. Into the restart zone. It's the teammates of Brian P. Johnson, Zach Hall, onto the loud pedal. A little bit of scattering deeper in the field as they're trying to jostle their way forward. But it's going to be Johnson with the lead, pulling down into turn number 1.
Pulls down, gives a little draft help to Zach Hall, but Christopher Norris already marching on that outside line. He's going to maybe come out of here in 2nd position if he's able to get along Zach Hall. As we have a spin in the back, the 24 car. Oh, we got
and it's a big one. Colley and others piling in late. And there's over 5, almost 6 drivers piling into this one. And drivers, again, recognizing it's go time. And it went poorly for the field, as it looked like issues with Colley running into another driver off the exit of the corner after drivers in front getting a little bit too aggressive.
Yeah, we're going to see right here in the replay what happened, but multiple cars involved, big damage on a lot of these cars in this field. Right here we're going to see, it looks like right in front, maybe the 7 and the 24 get a little contact, and then Colley's right there with them, and before you know it, 5, 6, 7 cars involved.
Yeah, and at the pace that they were going, there's just no way to slow down inside. These brakes don't like to slow down. But Ollie gets into the 1, ruffles Ollie's feathers, then Ollie gets bounced by the 7. Ollie tries to give the bump to Ollie, and then everyone else piling in late. It just was a hard contact brush all around. And the field, with that wreck, we are being sent to overtime as Ken Campbell going to get required damage after that hard collision late. And Justin, no surprise, I think with the way we've been seeing these drivers run, overtime was inevitable to be happening here this evening.
Yes, it seems that way with those restarts. Not going to be ideal for those guys in the back, but these guys up front, they probably are getting their nerves are building each restart, knowing that these cars are just going 3, 4, 5 wide. They're not really giving anyone any room coming out of the corners, but we saw in the beginning the 2 leaders getting involved in the first 2 cautions, and then now it kind of turned into the middle of the pack being involved in all these accidents. But these 2 leaders up front being teammates, I think they're going to make sure to give each other enough room. But Christopher Norris, he's going to be on that inside lane, so we're going to have to watch out what the pupil is able to do with the teacher up there, Zach Hall.
Gonna try his best, but then also you look at 4th place, Edward Sherwood Jr., a driver that's one of the biggest movers so far here tonight. That's 71, missed 1 race this season and looked pretty comfortable inside of our top 16 until he missed 1 race, major points lost, and now runs 20th in points. This 71, if he gets into victory lane with being 20th in points, that automatically locks him into the playoffs and will bump that cut line a little bit deeper into our top 16. Which could really change things up. Also, maybe seeing some of these other drivers that are outside looking in. If they can get into victory lane, it could really shake up everything here this evening.
Yeah, this race really is one of those races that is shaking up the points because there's been so much drama, so many accidents, and then a few unfortunate incidents with drivers having to disconnect, unfortunately, due to server issues. But one of the drivers I want to talk about, he's down on that apron. Kyle Heath, last week, he was one of my picks to maybe win. He was showing really good speed at Pocono, wasn't able to get the win. But is he going to be able to do it tonight? He's going to be restarting 6th. He's down there on that apron right now, maybe just cooling the tires. Not sure what else he would be doing, but I am going to talk about him. So I'm hoping he's going to get a nice restart here, and we'll see if he can get to the top 3.
Yeah, I mean, last week talked about it, got 7th at Indianapolis a few weeks ago, found himself getting a 5th place finish, which is 1 top 5 this season, and 9th in points for Kyle Heath, trying to get himself even a little bit more comfortable, if possible, moving forward. And then also the unknown, what is Jason Tamer in the 81, his 2nd race this season, the 81 who took a risk and a gamble of staying out on older tires, he's back in 8th place. What shakeups will we find up there as the majority of the drivers that are up front find themselves in a position where they're on older tires. The one with the freshest rubber going to be the 7 of Douglas Newbegin back in 11th. What will the 7 have for this run? I think that's going to be another critical question as we get ready for our first attempt at overtime. These drivers are going to be having 2 laps to go, and we go green. If we get a caution under our first attempt here, we will go straight into a caution flag. Then if we get a caution flag, on this first lap, we then will go into attempt number 2. But if we get the white flag, this race becomes official, and the drivers will race it out to see who will win this race. Will we need another attempt, or do we just need 1? The field is set up. They're ready to roll. And so are we. It's going to be Brian P. Johnson, Zach Hall, your front runners, with Edward Sherwood Jr. and Christopher Norris in 2nd row. How much speed is back in the 3rd? We'll find out with Larry Yingling and Kyle Heath as the pace car about to pull off. 10th race of the season. Will we see someone grab their 2nd win of the season, or will we have our 9th different winner? Here we go into the restart zone. Our first attempt at overtime is underway. A little bit of a jostle, a hiccup on the inside row, and it's all Brian P. Johnson and now Edward Sherwood Jr., your front 2.
And they are spinning in the back. It looks like one single car incident back there, but does not matter. We stay green. Ed Jr. going to go right to the outside immediately, waste no time. Going to try and get around Brian P. Johnson on this outside. Not going to be able to do it, but he is going to have the drafting help down this straightaway. He's going to try and power down and make another move going in turn 3.
They try to attack up front, but it's going to be your top 5 in line. Troublesome position for Ken Campbell and Ollie Fonseca. Those were the 2 drivers that spun out. But under this overtime attempt, hoping to see that white flag, it's Brian P. Johnson, but sliding up is Kyle Heath. Heath with a huge run, side by side for second. We will just need 1 attempt. It's official. Your Roasted Gems white flag is in the air for Brian P. Johnson, but here comes Edward Jr. Here comes Edward Trigger Jr. as the 71 needs a win. Kyle Heath wants a win as they come off of turn number 2.
Kyle Heath's going to be on the inside, not going to have the drafting help those 3 cars up top, but he's going to try and make any move he can. He looks like he's maybe going to try to send it down into this corner, down to the bottom. Not going to be able to do it, though. Brian Johnson going to be able to try and hold off Ed Jr. on the outside, but Kyle Heath is still fighting on the inside.
No, Heath goes around. Zach Cole piles in. It's a whole cluster of piles, and it's just 2. 3 drivers make it through the mayhem, and Brian P. Johnson will get his 2nd win of the season.
Wow. Kyle Heath had a chance to finish in the top 3, but not going to do it. That's going to hurt him on points. But Brian P. Johnson, Douglas Newbing, and those new tires coming back in a second. Anthony Gaudio ran out the top 3.
It was just a full send by a lot of drivers in the back that were trying to go through, and it was pandemonium off the exit of turn 4. Only 3 drivers solidified through the mayhem. That was Brian P. Johnson, who was ahead of the wreck, then Douglas Newbiggie and Anthony Gaudio, and Brian and McCann were the 3 that survived the wreck off of 4. There's only a handful of drivers that are still trying to cross the line after that wreck, but it's Brian Johnson in the 28 gets to have his fun burning it down here at Auto Club. Congratulations to that 28 team. 1 attempt at overtime. A wreck happens behind him. He'll take the victory as the 28 gets to have his fun. We will step away. When we come back, we'll talk to our top 3 and maybe a spotlight driver, get their thoughts on a crazy night here at Auto Club. What a race! Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting's post-race show of the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series, as race number 10 at Auto Club took away Martinsville, and it gives us still chaos at the end, and it's going to be the Season 1 champ and also our Daytona winner, Brian P. Johnson, up front and getting the win. Brian, congratulations on the victory. It looked like pandemonium behind you, just utter chaos in your mirror, but how are you feeling coming away with the victory?
Oh, it was chaos behind the wheel for me there too. That was stressful. Just man, what a race! I had a little bit of everything. Some green flag runs, some multiple green white checker attempts. Um, racing was all right. It was it's nice to have a lot of lanes to be able to pull off some slide jobs. I'm sure you guys saw a bunch of those, and those were exciting. Um, Man, it's a shame how that race ended right there. Um, for me, it's great. I'm glad I got another win. It's been a while since I had multiple wins in a season, so this is good. It's good for points. Had a rough past month. This is good for points for me. But it should have been a good team points night too. And Zach was running great up front. One of those cautions when it was just me and him, if one of those cautions didn't come out, he was probably going to pass me and win that race. Um, but it's just a shame that when the car is feeling pretty good in the track, and there's a lot of moves available that people got to take every single move that they can think of, and not only take themselves out of a good finish, but just kind of ruin it for everybody else. But we'll move into next week. Got two more races before the playoffs start, so every single point is going to be important because these points are going to reset, and then so it is points racing. It is points racing. That's what we got to do the next 2 weeks.
Brian, congrats on that win. Justin, up here in the booth, you mentioned teammates. You mentioned people making crazy moves out there. How nice was it to have Zach Hall up there at the end with you, starting alongside you, knowing that you didn't have to worry about him maybe running into you?
Oh, there are no words as to how much better that is. When not only a teammate, but someone like Zach Hall, who for years now, I can depend on us having a really good, hard, clean race. And that's one thing we both, we don't have to say it, but we did say it. Those last couple of restarts is that it doesn't matter what happens, just as long as we don't wreck. Like, let's not waste time racing each other too hard. Doesn't matter. Let's not wreck. And unfortunately, he got caught up in something, and I managed to squeak away. But there's no words as to how much better it makes me feel having a restart beside Zachary Hall at the end of a race.
I mean, Brian, still, congratulations on this win, being the second driver to have 2 wins this season. And before we officially let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Man, I gotta shout out you guys, of course, for putting on a great show every week. For us and for other leagues as well. It's great watching you guys, and shout out to everybody that tuned in. Hope hope you guys enjoyed that one. And then all the drivers here at this league, and the admin team, and our race control. Um, Nothing is possible without every single person who is involved. Definitely got to thank Roasted Gems Coffee, and of course Trophy Smack. They offer some great products for us, and you can check out those links in the description, or yeah, that's where they are. Check those guys out. Make some great stuff, and then yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, that will be your winner here tonight. Race 10. Give it to the 28 of Brian P. Johnson. Congratulations, Brian, on this victory. Enjoy it, and good luck next week at Nashville Superspeedway.
Thanks, sir.
As we go from victory lane, let's go down to second place, where driver is, I don't know how he survived through the mess, but he did. Douglas Newbigging. Douglas, you survived the chaos. certainly a weird thing to see through your front windshield is a wall of drivers, but you made it through, man. How are you feeling after coming away second?
Pretty good, honestly. God, pretty good. I don't know. I felt like I kind of didn't really have that much of a. It felt like a top 10 car, like long run, maybe top 5-ish, but definitely not. Didn't expect to finish where I was finishing. Quite a bit of wrecks, not as much as Kern County, which I just found out isn't also in California. So maybe this is just a California thing for this league where we just all kind of suck, I guess, a little bit. But yeah, man. I mean, I thought it was fun. Definitely wish it was during the day. A little bit harder to drive. I feel like with this kind of nighttime, it's a little more full throttle, not as much on the driver. Not too many lines you could run. I mean, you saw the end of the race there. I mean, everyone's right up the top, so it's kind of like, I don't know, but yeah, it was fun. Had a good time. Laughed a lot. So
Douglas, congrats on finishing second. I have to ask you, in the beginning of the race, I saw you had the EOL, so you had to start in the tail end of the field. And I know you had to do that once back at Vegas where we had no cautions and you drove up there. Tell us about that, because I was trying to find out exactly what happened to you.
yeah. So what happened was, Kern County, I caused 4 cautions because I have an excuse at least, right? I didn't. I mean, I wasn't like a maniac, but I was in a hotel, like this really like a kind of decent hotel on like okay Wi-Fi on my small little laptop, and I got my thing propped up on a thing, and I was like racing. My laptop could barely run iRacing at that point, so I caused about 4 cautions. 3 were self spins. One was actually killed some, or I took someone out, I think. But that's what set me back. And since I'm at 4, I got one last week and I got an Isaiah there, ran up the track and turned him, or spun myself off his nose. That got me to 5. That got me the UL. So that's the story with that. But yeah, I mean, this race kind of knew it was going to be a fuel run going into it. So I was like, okay, I'm starting on the back. That means I could save a little bit. So was on the save game. Was going to be looking really good at the start there, but Kashi came out. Tried doing it again because we were like right in the borderline. I think it was 37 laps we could do, or 37 laps it was to the next stop, and I think I got to like 35, but I couldn't do any more. So I was like, you know what, gonna go full out. But by then the pack was 3 seconds out, so kind of scratched it. The cautions really saved me there towards like lap 50. That caution, like the halfway one, that really put me back into it, I guess. So yeah.
It certainly did put you back into it. I know we've been talking to you a lot, Douglas, at the end of these races.
Always in second. I never get
yeah.
third or first, but I guess this season just second place me. So
we're getting there, but we're getting close to the playoffs. What is your comfort level with us being so close to the playoffs and being so consistently up front, even with the kind of, you could say, a bad day coming into tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be dead honest with you. I got no idea what the point standings look like. So I could be up top, I could be up front. I got no idea, but. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was shocked to hear where my teammates were in points. It's like some of them are like kind of near the cut line, and some of them are really good. I'm like, I thought you guys. It's like, all right, I don't know what's going on. So I guess I missed something important at Indy, or I don't know. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people wrecking. I mean, look tonight. You know what I mean? We had Nelson. He wrecked. Problems for a couple of their guys that were trying to get on points. I think that the way the points are, I mean, it's just gonna balance itself out in the end. So I feel really comfortable. I mean, again, I don't know where I am with points. I could be like minus 500, all I know, but I feel pretty comfortable. And I feel like I said, everything just kind of balances out in the end. So I feel like if people are having bad nights today, they didn't have a good night, or they got disconnected, or whatever happened, it's gonna rebound. Someone else and up front is gonna have a bad night, and you'll just keep cycling out. So.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's going to cycle its way through. Currently, you are actually 7th in points, so not a bad place to be.
I missed a race too. Look at me. Ooh,
yeah, you
nice.
you're doing the best of everyone that has missed one race so far. So congratulations on that. And before we let you go, Douglas, the floor is now yours for any shoutouts.
Yeah, man. Gonna give a shout out to Coast Tinting. If you want to get your car windows tinted. They're pretty good at this. Obviously, it's nighttime. It worked out. I don't know. Maybe the moon's too bright. But, if it was a daytime race, that would have been nice to have, because 3 and 4, the sign kind of comes down on you there a little bit. Rusty Gems Coffee, code Lucky Ducks, 15% off. One word, Lucky Ducks. We got No Kid Hungry, great charity, support them. Shea Designs, look at this beautiful car. It's nice blue, white, light blue accents. It's dark blue accents. I mean, that's beautiful, right? You can't top that. I mean, it's gorgeous, beautiful, perfect. Look at number 7 too. The way that foil on it, that's cool. We got Hot Lap Threads. They're sponsor this league. That's pretty cool. Trophy Smack, they sponsor this league. So when I win the trophy for the championship. That'll be neat. Yeah, man. I mean, it's great. Freaking fast broadcasting. You guys do great. I saw you guys had like 40 viewers earlier. That's crazy. Good job on that. I don't know. I mean, it seems pretty good at least. Yeah, and then obviously I want to give a shout out to Steve Benjamin for being race control tonight. He's gonna probably have fun doing this, all the admins, and I wish them luck going back through all this mess, trying to figure out who's at fault, and hope they have a good weekend. Everyone watching has a good weekend too. So, yeah. Guess that's it. I like Enough Motorsports too. All my teammates.
Well, that will be the 7 machine of Douglas Newbigin. Congratulations, Douglas, on second place, and good luck next week at Nashville Superspeedway.
Hey, thank you, man. Hopefully I'll be back up here second or first. So.
Hey, we're hoping that it's first to one of these races, Douglas. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. See you around, guys.
So yeah, as we go from second place, we go down to third, where we get to talk about a driver that just survived through. We have Anthony Gaudio with us in the 29 machine. Anthony, I don't know how you got through the mess, but you come away third. What are you feeling after that chaotic finish?
I am speechless, dude. By the way, it's nice talking to you guys again. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
But that was insane. The seas parted. I went from 11th to 3rd within like 50 feet. I'm just in shock still. My heart rate hasn't gone down.
Anthony, it's Justin up here in the booth. We used to race together, so I'm always pulling for you. I have a soft spot for you. I'm so happy to talk to you tonight. Like you said, it's been a while. Tell us, what do we need to see from you for the rest of the season to see you more often up here in these top 3 spots?
I mean, just gotta, hit my marks where I'm, get good pit stops and, qualify, decent. Today got qualified not so great. I think I started 29th or 28th, but I just gotta get, a good train going where I'm getting some consistent, finishes, upwards of, 12th and up. I know I'm in a tough spot in points right now, but if I can, pull off a couple of top 5, I don't know what points we're looking at after today, but, I'm just happy to be here. That's it. These are really competitive guys here. I'm just glad to be here.
I mean, Anthony, it has been amazing to see you trying to get better with this car. We've seen that you've been up front, especially during the practice sessions, and trying to stay up front as well as you can. What is the confidence level for these last 2 races of the regular season, going to Nashville Superspeedway next week, and then heading to that of Atlanta Superspeedway after that?
Well, Nashville is one of my favorite tracks. Concrete surface. I love it there. Hopefully I can keep it in one piece. And then for Atlanta, that's like, a lottery ticket there. I mean, super speedway, restricted plate racing there. So, we'll see.
We can't wait to see how you're going to perform on those next 2 racetracks. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, just want to, say good race to all my competitors, my teammates, and, my family watching. And, yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Glad to be here. And you guys do awesome work.
Well, thank you very much, Anthony. We hope to talk to you more throughout the rest of the season. Good luck next week at Nashville Superspeedway and going forward.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. As we move from 3rd place, we're going to go down to talk to our spotlight driver, a driver that we talked to last week, had a little bit of a mishap. This week, we have to wait until the end of the race to talk to him. We got Ben Keeney with us. Ben, 6th place, your first top 10 of the season. You survived the madness. How are you feeling with your first top 10 of the season?
Redeemed. Redeemed from every race this year where I've messed up, where I've been frustrated, where I've just felt like, what am I doing? Why am I here after every race, finishing at the back? I just feel redeemed, and I needed this. I needed this for my confidence. I needed this for points, and I just needed this. This was a huge boost for me.
Ben, Justin up here in the booth, congrats on the 6. So happy to see you get that redemption, especially last week at Pocono. You were having a nice run there and unfortunately didn't go the way you want it. But like you said, never giving up, coming back every week, putting in the work, putting in the effort. You're getting a result now. Tell us about the next 2 races. What can you do before the playoffs? What can you do to help solidify your position?
Same thing I've been doing these last few weeks. going all the way back to Kern County. I've been putting practices up on Tuesdays for everybody. After I finish talking to you guys, I'm gonna hop in the sim and run. I think we're Nashville next week, so I'm gonna run some laps there. Just all this week trying to build myself up, get comfortable with the track, and that's really the key because running Gen 4 Cup on iRacing, you see a few of these tracks, but you don't really get to know them well. So getting to have a consistent time on those tracks and being able to figure out and feel out where you need to be running to get the best time, you know, that's what I've been doing these last few weeks. Just hoping to get to this point, and I'm so grateful I finally have.
I mean, Ben, it's always great when we get to see drivers that have been struggling throughout the season finally get their best finish for themselves. And we're inching closer and closer to the end of this regular season. What are you hoping to gain in these last two races before the playoffs begin for those drivers that make the top 16? But heading to Nashville Super Speedway and Atlanta Super Speedway, what are your thoughts and what you're trying to carry and learn from those two tracks?
Nashville and Gen 4 Cup, it's where I actually got my first win in this car in Gen 4 Cup. I'm really hoping to get consistently in the top 20 these next two races. It's going to be big for me to get back up there. That's going to be big for the team to really gain those points back and move up in not just in the regular standings, but in the team standings as well. From that standpoint, we've been struggling a little bit with two of our drivers leaving after Kern County. It's just been Brandon Colley and myself, and we've both been struggling. So being able to get back up and moving back up with the potential I know we have, it's going to be really big, and just really hoping to perform well these next 2 weeks, and we need to.
Well, I cannot wait to see how much more you develop, Ben, from this point on. It's just your first top 10 of the season. Cannot wait to see if you grab any more after this. But before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
All right, I appreciate it. I want to first off thank Thunder Marketing Group for sticking with me this season. Dustin and everyone over there been huge supporters, and probably my biggest supporter of all, my biggest fan of all, my girlfriend Amanda, who has put up with me doing these races every night, and not getting to talk to her before she goes to bed. I'm gonna see her in the morning, so gonna be happy to tell her that I finally got that top 10 finish, because she knows I've been struggling and been itching to get up in the top 10, so it feels really good. And then just everyone watching back home, just for the support. And of course, to you guys put on one heck of a broadcast. And from someone who is a professional, newscaster and professional broadcaster, it's unmatched by anyone in iRacing. So you guys do a fantastic job putting these on, and I can't thank you guys enough.
Well, thank you so much for the high praises there, Ben, and congratulations again on a top 10 finish. And enjoy this one, but good luck. We hope for even a better finish next week at Nashville Super Speedway.
All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, as we get ourselves done with our interviews, that was going to be the 98 of Ben Keeney coming away with the 6th place finish, his best finish this season and his first top 10 so far. And a lot of these drivers hoping to survive coming into the night. But Justin, as we relook at this incident, this was coming to the end of the race, to the checkered flag. And a lot of drivers are upset with the move, but it was then 31 to 71 making contact that started all of the calamity off the exit of turn 4.
Yeah, drivers are not happy with the move. It sounds like there was a lot of chatter going on, but it's hard. What do you expect? The 31's trying to go for the win. He's making the move. He slides up high. He thinks he has a 71 cleared, and I get it. The 71 does not want to lift at that moment either, because then he's going to lose spots. So he's in the throttle full throttle coming out of the corner, and he sees the 31 slide up. And I mean, it's one of those racing deals. I think a lot of drivers are just mad because the whole night the race just kind of kept getting a lot of dive bombs, a lot of slide jobs, a lot of accidents, and everything was kind of boiling over. And then at the end, it all kind of broke loose there.
It certainly did break loose, and came down to a lot of drivers piling in, and even more after the fact, as saw the 32 Zach Hall go back up into the field, and just it kept on mounting up to knowing that it was going to come down to a big mess at the end, but ultimately it was Brian P. Johnson who had the better run and gets the win for himself. As we saw how the incident went down, let's see where the drivers finished as we take a look at our unofficial results. It's going to be the 28 of Brian P. Johnson who takes the win. Douglas Newbegin second. Anthony Gaudio coming away with third place finish. It's been a while since we talked to Anthony, but a great run for the 29. And Brian McCann, who we saw ebb and flow back and forth, going to come away with fourth place finish. Christopher Norris also at times thought maybe he was going to fall back, fought for the win at moments, comes away with fifth. Ben Keeney's best finish of the season in sixth. Seventh goes to 77 to Brian Noel. Jason Tamer comes back after missing majority of the season with a top 10 finish for the 81. Ninth goes to the 99 of Cameron Sarton, who's been having terrible luck the last 3 or 4 weeks. Finally able to get a top 10 finish for the 99. And Ryan Kelly ultimately he'll take a 10th place, but obviously had a top 5 speed all night long.
He definitely did, but that 2-tire strategy at the end when he stayed out, not sure how that played out. But how about Brandon Cawley coming back to 11th? Got caught up in a couple incidents, but able to salvage a decent finish. James Coffin in 12th. Joshua Corner, we saw him get run over by the guy in 14th, Cody Reed, at that one point. Those guys both able to salvage 13th and 14th spots. Larry Yingling was up there back in the 15th. But how about Ollie Fonseca? We saw speed earlier, but some bad pit stops. Back in 18th, Zach Hall running right up in the front at the beginning. Unfortunately, going to end up 19th. Kyle Heath, we saw make that move, 20th. Just so many drivers down there, and then we're going to get into some of these guys who unfortunately disconnected through incidents. Back in 23rd, Nick Crawford and Tyler Dengler, 24th. And then all the way down, we saw the incident, Johnny Brugg going for the lead at the time when the incident with Brandon Cawley, and unfortunately going to end up in 30th position, 68 laps down.
Yeah, it just wasn't the night that he wanted. Christopher Wade missing out on the start of the race. Only 30 officially took the green, and I know for Bryson Hixenbaugh, John Forbes, Nick Crawford, the disconnect randomly that just kept on happening in those final quarter of the race. Very frustrating times for those 3 drivers. Nick Crawford tried his best. He did get back into the session and gain the most positions of those 3. But from the downs, we take a look at what the future has for us, as this is our schedule that will be moving forward. Starting next week, it's the ISRC Truck Series on Monday night, February 12th. Season 6 is upon us, and we're excited for it. The drivers are just as hyped and excited. Hopefully you are as well. We're bringing back the trucks. It's been a while since we've seen them, but we know it's going to be chaotic fun to watch. And Justin, heard that you're actually going to be out there on track on Monday nights.
Oh yes, getting out of the broadcast booth, getting back down into the pedals. The steering wheel is going to be fun. I can't wait to see. It's going to be nice to have Freaky Fast calling the action. I can't wait for everyone to tune in and watch me get a chance to be out there on track instead of up in the booth.
Oh, we're excited for it. Then Tuesday night, we are still looking for a league. So if you'd like for us to cover your racing action on Tuesday night, hit us up on our social medias on Twitter/X or on Facebook. Look up Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We would love to cover your series. Wednesday night, it's right here with the WSSR Cup Series. Then starting officially, season begins tomorrow night, Thursday. It's the Doghouse Cup Series, beginning a new season in 2024. We've gotten through their fundraising Daytona race. We then had their Clash. We've gotten through qualifying day last week, and now officially the beginning of a season. It's going to be a fun one. Don't want to miss it. Daytona in the Next Gen Cup car. Those drivers are amped up. They're excited. They've been working for multiple weeks on getting those setups perfect for the Next Gen car. And now it all comes down to one race to start the season off. Cannot wait for it. Tomorrow night, going to be a good race for these drivers this evening. Brian P. Johnson taking the win. Justin, any final thoughts before we call it an official night here in the WSSR?
Well, we're going to see these tempers probably boil over next week to Nashville. So Nashville will be interesting. These cars, Nashville Super Speedway. NASCAR didn't go to Nashville Super Speedway, I don't believe, under these cars, so it's going to be kind of like an unknown, like we saw at Kern County. Hopefully not as many cautions, but then Atlanta Super Speedway going to be another unknown race, and it's only going to be 2 races left before the playoffs, so these guys are going to be trying everything to get any points possible. We might see more dive bombs, slide jobs, all types of different kind of driving styles.
It's going to be a lot of chaos these last 2 weeks to see who will be making the top 16 in points to run for a championship. got Nashville Superspeedway next week. The week after that, it's Atlanta Superspeedway before we start the playoffs for the Season 8 championship. It's been a pleasure. It's been amazing to watch Brian P. Johnson taking the victory here this evening. Congratulations to that 28 team becoming the second driver to have 2 wins this season. The only other driver with multiple wins is Benjamin Nelson. But everyone knows the drama is going to ramp up more next week in Music City at Nashville. Cannot wait to give you all the coverage. But for tonight, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Justin Malarkey, Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else that helps out at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us. Next week's going to be a blast. It's Nashville Super Speedway. But before we get to that racing coverage, we have tomorrow night. It's the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series, giving you the first race at Daytona in the next gens. You don't want to miss out. It's going to be some great racing action. But if we do miss you next week, if we do miss you tomorrow, hopefully we'll see you next week at Nashville. For tonight, thank you so much for joining with us. We'll see you tomorrow for our next Freaky Fast broadcast.